Yo, what is going on? The aDrive Army and the WBE fans. My name is Dan, and I also go by aDrive, and I am joined by the wonderful and excellent Joey Pokeaim. How you doing today, Joey?
Yo, what's up, guys? You got Pokeaim here. It's been a minute since I've been on this channel, but hello. I've actually not been on this channel at 11:05 a.m., but, you know, we're here again, and the WBE draft is today. Thank you, Dan, for having me.
I'm so glad to have you, man. Joey, of course, being one of the most accomplished battlers. He's got a brand new team to showcase this season for the WBE. For those who don't know what WBE is, it is the World Battle Entertainment League. It is a draft league, Pokemon Battle League that takes place on YouTube, and we are doing the draft right here, breaking down all the teams for the first Pokemon Sword and Shield draft league on YouTube, man. It is going to be epic. We've got all the awesome picks to break down, and you guys can check out everything on the website, !WBE, or check the description below on the YouTube video after the fact. So Joey and I are going to break down a couple different things before we jump into the draft, and then we're going to be going through all the different picks. So Joey, why don't you give them a little bit of details on how the drafting is going to work?
Okay, so basically, as you see on the left of Dan, I guess you could say from there. Yeah, the left of Dan, we have different tiers where Pokemon are broken down. Every single round, coaches will be able to pick one Pokemon going up, and then it comes back. It's snake draft form, right? So it goes right back. They get another Pokemon coming back. Every single Pokemon is tiered differently. S tier, obviously, being the Pokemon you'd expect to be there, like, you know, the strongest type of Pokemon in the generation. A tier being a little bit better. You get one G-Max. There's no Dynamaxing in this league at all. You do get one G-Max Mon, and that Mon can actually Dynamax as well. And then we have 3 B tiers and 4 C tiers. We actually have a list to the WBE draft if you guys want to check it out. The entire draft right now. I'll actually post that right in the chat for them to go to. 1 sec, Dan.
Yep, so basically, as Joey said, each team is going to be drafting one Pokemon from each of the different tiers and fill out all those slots. One thing I wanted to clarify on is, as Joey said, there's actually no Dynamaxing allowed in the league except for the Gigantamax Pokemon, which can Gigantamax. But let's say Joey picks Gigantamax Dreadnought. He cannot use Dynamax Dreadnought. He can only use Gigantamax Dreadnought. So we still have maxing. It's just for that one Gigantamax pick. We kind of formulated it based off of the Mega Evolutions like we did previously in WBE. But otherwise, I'll give you guys a quick rundown here. Here is the WBE website hosted by our friend Automatic. So thank you, Auto, for all your love here. !WBE to check this out. You simply go to the homepage here. You click WBE, which is going to be the top league located here. It should always be the top league located there. You're going to load it up, and you're going to see all the different coaches. So let's talk about all of our different coaches really quickly. We have In Vivid Color making his return with the South Texas Sableye. We have Uzi Gunner and the Bullet Punch Club coming back again after an impressive showing last season. Myself, aDrive, and the Minnesota Vicavolts. Steve, Magnitude, and the Milwaukee Sawsbucks. Crimson Seabad bringing a brand new rebranded logo with the Detroit Steel Wings. John, or Pokemon, with the New Orleans Pelipers. Galactic Elliott and the Chicago Cub Chews. Under the Radar and the Maryland Torterrapins. Joey, I'll let you cover the other half.
Okay, we got Kale and the Miami Dawn fans. We also have Duncan Can't Die and Big League Energy. My new team, the rebrand, the New York Dreepies. Nexus and the Pittsburgh Pikachus. Envy and the San Diego Chim Chargers. We have Wolf with also a new rebrand with the DC Dracovish. Gator with the Florida Gators, and Cybertron with the Melbourne Rotoms. Only 16 coaches this year.
Correct. So we have 16 coaches. There's actually no divisions, no leagues, or any of that stuff. It's very simple. We're going to be pulling, all the coaches are going to be battling against each other in 8 different battles. So there's going to be 8 weeks of battles until playoffs. And this is basically our first run through of Pokemon Sword and Shield. I know a lot of people have been asking, what happens when the DLC comes out? What happens when Pokemon Home comes out? The league is set in stone as of when the draft took place. So any additions cannot be added to teams. So let's say next month, Libero Cinderace comes out. It cannot be used. That would be for the next season. So here's a quick look at our tiers. You guys can check those out. We've tweeted them on the WBE draft page, and you can see all the Pokemon have been tiered. If you don't agree with the tiering, that's too bad. Myself, Joey, and 3 other council members sat down. We argued and debated over every single Pokemon one by one and tiered them out accordingly. While our tier list isn't perfect, I think it's a really good starting point for us to work with, and our objective for WBE this season was to minimize the bans and allow Pokemon to flourish as best as we could. So Pokemon like Aegislash, which have previously been banned, are allowed. Pokemon like Dracovish and Pokemon like Tyranitar, some of the more strong Pokemon in the format, Dragapult, another one, are going to be allowed. So we're going to do our best to allow everything we can, with the exceptions of Eternatus, Zacian, Zamazenta, and of course, Mew. So that is your draft breakdown. All this information is available to you guys by going to the WBE draft website, draftleague.nl. Without further ado, I think it's about time that we jump into this draft. What do you think, Joey?
Yeah, I'm ready. I want to see what everybody picked, and I'm excited. I'm excited to get my own Pokemon going forward, so let's do it.
All right, so I will say that the draft order was randomized. So you would think that with the randomizer, 16 teams, you wouldn't know who's going to be the first pick. But, of course, the first pick got to go to Wolf. Yes,
Rigged.
the 3-time WBE champion got the first pick overall. And with that, let us begin the WBE Sword and Shield draft. The first pick is going to be Wolf and his DC Dracovish picking up Dracovish. Now, we know Dracovish in the S tier being one of the most fearsome Pokemon in the format with its Vicious Rend powered up by its Strong Jaw. This thing is so devastating if the opponent does not have a Water Absorber or a Storm Drain user because it just hits so incredibly hard, Joey. Dracovish is definitely one of the biggest threats in the format.
Yeah, unless you have Water Absorb, honestly, even if you're a bulky grass type, you're not going to be taking banded Vicious Rends coming off, or even Scarf Vicious Rends. I think it's a great pick for Wolf, and I mean, it made sense. Look at his rebrand. He should have gotten it.
Yeah, he's definitely been supporting Mr. Fish or Mr. Vish. And the second pick overall is going to be Duncan Can't Die. His new team, Big League Energy, going for the staple Aegislash. Now, Aegislash got some big nerfs in this gen, losing 10 base points to its attack, defense, special attack, and special defense based on its forms, and its King Shield only drops attack by 1 stage instead of 2. However, Aegislash still a massive threat, especially with weakness policy, priority Shadow Sneak, and it's a pretty bulky Pokemon overall.
Yeah, and I think a big thing is even though its stats got nerfed, it got stronger moves to abuse them, so it actually hits harder than if it had 150 base power with close combat as well as Steel Beam versus Sacred Sword and Flash Cannon. So another great pick, and I figured Aegislash would be going early.
Our first Gigantamax pick goes for the San Diego Chimchargers, and that is Gigantamax Grimmsnarl. Its Grimmsnarl move allows it to yawn both targets on the field in VGC, but this is single battle, so it basically is going to make some Pokemon snooze a little bit. What's your thoughts on the Grimmsnarl pick there, Joey?
Great pick. You have Prankster. You can do dual screens with it. Obviously, you can use it as a regular Pokemon. We don't have a set time when you have to Gmax. One thing is that the Gmax snooze doesn't always make your opponent yawn for some reason. I think I've saw that happen, but it's an incredible Pokemon, having priority, and with Dynamax moves allowed on it, basically strong. Oh wait, that was a good pick. Hold up.
Wait a minute, that's you. Go for it.
Hey, I got Corviknight as my first pick. Honestly, I think Corviknight the best Pokemon in Pokemon Sword and Shield in singles, so I wanted to use it in Draft League itself. Iron Defense. I can use bulk up variants with Sub Roost, and I have Defog as well as U-Turn for Momentum. I really like Corviknight, so.
Shout out to that clean Drop a Dreepies logo right there. I love it, man. I love the full rebrand. It's so clean. And you got to love that Dragapult and Aegislash are part of our new logos. So big shout outs to that. But as you mentioned, Corviknight, 3 great abilities, man. Pressure, Unnerve, and of course, Mirror Armor. The Maryland Torterrapin's under the radar, a tremendous battler. He's going to actually grab Dragapult. And it's crazy to see Dragapult go, I think, 5th overall here or 4th overall. Dragapult being so powerful, being able to attack from the physical and the special side. And its speed knows no bounds, man. 142 base speed allows it to hit before the opponent almost every single time, Joey.
Yeah, I think the big thing is that Dragapult probably never going to have to invest in speed for the most part in this draft league, considering it is the fastest Pokemon besides, like, I think, a Selgor in the generation,
Ninjask.
right?
Ninjask, bro.
Exactly,
Ninjask.
You're right. So, fantastic pick. I definitely thought about getting it myself, but this is another one. This is another one I thought about getting myself. One for Darmanitan.
Yeah, one for Darmanitan, aDrive Army. Darmanitan, of course, being able to run that Guerrilla Tactics, essentially having a free choice band thrown on it, but it can also run the Zen mode, too, which is a very viable set with the right support options. Should not be slept on. Pittsburgh Pikachu's Numb Nexus looking to destroy some opponents with this incredibly powerful Pokemon that can fire off crazy powerful Ice type and fire type moves, not to mention its great coverage outside of that with super power. It gets Rock Slide, and again,
Zen mode.
And again, the Zen mode option, being able to switch to fire type, can be really crucial with the right support options. So the Melbourne Rotoms and Cybertron grabbing Excadrill. Excadrill's always been one of the standout picks across Draft League for many, many years, and I don't think Sword and Shield is any different, man. Excadrill's a big threat, Joey.
Yeah, it has Rapid Spin now, which it had before, but it now boosted speed as well, so it doesn't have to depend on sand. I think it's a Pokemon that Aaron is very familiar with, considering it's a pretty popular VGC pick as well, and it's a fantastic Steel type. We saw Wolf do a lot with it last generation, so I very much like X-Drill pick, and I feel like all the picks we've seen so far are pretty solid all around, and Drill is definitely no exception with its 3 great abilities: Mold Breaker, Sand Rush, and Sand Force.
Perhaps our first surprising pick here, we're going to see Kyle A and the Miami Don fans grabbing Galarian Corsola. You might be like, Corsola, not Cursula? For those who don't know, Corsola in single battles is absurdly difficult to take down. With the Eviolite item, it is so bulky, and with things like Will-O-Wisp and Strength Sap, it can continuously heal itself up and shut down those physical attackers while having enough special bulk to still take on attacks. Does it get recover too? Either way.
Strength Sap, just Strength Sap.
Strength Sap. This thing is so hard to knock out if you don't have knockoff, and without move tutors, the move knockoff has definitely been kind of reduced. Like, there's not as many Pokemon that have it, so very difficult. But we're gonna see Uzi Gunner take Gigantamax Hatterene. What do you think about that, Joey?
That is a phenomenal pick. I think Hatterene is one of the best Pokemon out there. Has fantastic coverage since they gave basically all the fairy types Mystical Fire. Has Nuzzle, Calm Mind options, Trick Room options, can run physically defensive. I believe it also gets Baton Pass, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure, but I know it gets Power Whip, so that's really cool too.
Yeah, and Swords Dance as well. That's very it's not terrible, okay? I know we're like laughing about that, but it's definitely not terrible. But
no, it's got a decent physical attack stat. Like, you could really catch someone off guard, you know?
Yeah. It does get Baton Pass as well, and our rules in this thing is you can Baton Pass all stats but speed, or you can Baton Pass just speed, and it has Calm Mind and Swords Dance.
This is the first Pokemon to go with both its Gigantamax and its regular form. South Texas Sableye grabbing Grim Snarl, a phenomenal prankster user, not only as a support Pokemon with Light Screen and Reflect and Thunder Wave, but this thing could be a really big threat using Bulk Up, Joey.
Yeah, like what we said before, being able to trick, being able to rest, sleep talk, spirit break, I think is really underrated. Though it's used on most standard sets, it'll be really nice for breaking through those special attackers. I'm pretty excited to see how they differ in this. Obviously, Envy's going to be able to G-Max and get his 3-turn nuke, but I really love the regular pick, as well as Como here. I think Como is another Mon by Chase that got a lot better because of its own Omni boosting, which Clanger's Soul. Which takes 25% or like a little cut of its HP but boosts its stats. It also has Iron Defense plus Body Press. Body Press is one of the biggest additions to fighting types this generation or in general because you can boost your defense and have that be incredibly powerful. And Como has, I believe its defense is its highest stat. Stealth Rocker, Mix Attacker, Belly Drum, Autotomize, Swords Dance, Bulk Up. Again, a great dragon, and I did expect it to go semi-early as well after Dragon Ball. Speaking of great dragons.
Yeah, the Chicago Cubs is grabbing Hydreigon, and Hydreigon got massive buffs in this game, having access to Nasty Plot and Dragon Dance, being able to hit from both the physical and the special side for the Chicago Cub Juice here. One of the most fearsome wall breakers. Now, again, it won't be able to take advantage of Dynamaxing. However, it still is a fearsome Pokemon, great Choice Scarf user, and again, with those setup options, can be very difficult to beat, especially with the slower speed tiers in this draft with a limited pool. 98 base speed is actually phenomenal, and after a +1, it's going to outspeed the majority of the metagame.
Yeah, getting Dragon Dance now is pretty cool. It does lose Roost and Defog though, because we're not using the, like you said, the Pokemon Home moves. Hatterene, this is regular Hatterene, right? By yours truly right there. You go ahead and explain it, bro. I'm not going to take it from you.
Yeah, so I got my first pick, and I decided to go with Hatterene in my S tier pick. I think this is a Pokemon that I've used a lot so far with Trick Room, and I think that it can be a great cleaner by being able to Trick Room and then just kind of sweep, something I've done a lot with Reuniclus. I love the Magic Bounce ability on it. It's very nice as well, and it's just a super hard-hitting Pokemon. It's obviously very slow, but because it hits so hard with the special attacks, and as you mentioned, Mystical Fire, Dazzling Gleam, Psychic, it gets Power Whip, it gets a bunch of different coverage options. Very cool there. The New Orleans Pelipers and Pokemon are going to grab Corviknight here, but this is the Gigantamax Corviknight, so he's going to be able to actually remove those hazards with the Gigantamax Corviknight's move. It's a Gigantamax move, and as you mentioned, you know Corviknight, very strong Pokemon with some really good abilities and very bulky, so the Gigantamax pick here does remove the hazards as opposed to boosting speed like Max Airstream.
That's a big thing.
So in singles, I think Gigantamax Corviknight is very viable. In doubles, you often see the Dynamax version, but this is definitely a really solid pick here for the New Orleans Pelipers.
Yeah, it would have been a little bit better had we allowed Dynamax, but thankfully we did not. Gator picking up Toxtricity. Now, Toxtricity is really weird because of its Punk Rock ability. Obviously, Boom Burst is very strong. Boom Burst actually is stronger neutral move than clicking Stab Sludge Wave. It also has Overdrive boosted by its special ability as well. And Volt Switch, and I think in a metagame where there's only one Ferrothorn, there's only one Tyranitar, there's only one, specific rock type, Toxtricity might actually be really hard to switch into. Can also shift gear and whatnot. And it looks really cool too. I'm gonna be honest, it looks really cool. And a really nice fairy answer as well in this. So.
This thing's a monster and very difficult to take down, especially, or very difficult to switch into, rather, with, again, that limited format. And the last pick in the first round is going to be G-Max Kaparaja for the Milwaukee Sawsbucks. Kaparaja's Gigantamax move, very unique in the sense that it actually sets up a Steel-type Stealth Rock. So it's equivalent to Stealth Rock, but with Steel-type damage impact. So very, very cool Gigantamax pick here. A little early on to see Kaparaja, in my opinion, but definitely a big threat.
Yeah, it also has a phenomenal move pool like Play Rough and Power Whip and Heat Crash. So it has so much coverage, especially because he's going to be able to Gigantamax and use all that stuff and can really support a team. So while I do think it was a little bit early, I do feel like it might not have made it back considering we're going through 16 coaches. So he had to wait essentially 32 picks until his next one.
Yeah, so here's our recap for round one, man. We've got some really, really good Pokemon. Not any surprises out of those first few picks there. Dracovish, Aegislash, of course, seeing Dragapult going pretty early, Darmanitan, Excadrill. Again, no surprises there. I think for me, the only thing that was really a surprise to me is maybe the Corsola going this early, but we know how bulky that could be. And I think maybe a little early on the Corviknight myself, but any thoughts from you?
The G-Max Corviknight or the regular Corviknight?
The G-Max Corviknight.
I'm about to say, hold up, the regular Corviknight clean. Honestly, dude, I think G-Max Corviknight made sense to go. It's basically a second Corviknight with the ability to use Max Knuckle and things like that. Yeah, its flying type move is not the best in this right here because it just removes, it's basically defog, which it already has access to. But overall, you know, when there's strong dragon types like Haxorus, for instance, and there's no Celesteela, there's no Skarmory, Corviknight's your next best bet. So in terms of steel types, I could deal with it. So I like it. I definitely think Corsola is, you know, the odd pick out. But hey, Kyle wants to do what he wants to do.
That's it, man.
He's the only coach that matters. So
he's the only coach that matters. But what does matter is we are jumping into round two because we're gonna keep it rocking. So round two begins with the Milwaukee Sawsbucks going after their Gigantamax Kaparaja, and he is gonna follow that up with Mimikyu. Now, Mimikyu took a big nerf this gen with its disguise taking a percentage of its HP, allowing it to not run those focus sashes. In doubles, that's a big deal, but in singles, I think that Mimikyu is still a massive threat, being able to rock the Life Orb and hit incredibly hard with that disguise, always protecting it and allowing it to Swords Dance up. This is a great pick in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. It also has access to Trick Room, which is phenomenal with Kaparaja. And it also is immune to the fighting type attacks coming out of Kaparaja. So I love the pick together. Gives him a decent speed tier as well. Like you said before, anything above base 90 this generation is just pretty fast, considering where all the speed tiers are. And it gives him priority in Shadow Sneak. Speaking of priority, we got Gator with his trademark Mamoswine pick. He does not like when he does not get Mamoswine, but Mamoswine, always the same Pokemon. Stealth Rock, Ice Shard, Thick Fat, Adamant, Life Orb, female Mamoswine when it comes to Gator. With an Assault Vest, we've seen it actually do a few things like eating up hits from Greninja in the past, and access to Freeze Dry, I believe, as well as Curse. Makes Mamoswine a really big offensive threat. So at the moment, his first two picks are just straight up power, right? He got the special one, and he has the physical one coming through.
Yeah, very, very strong picks there. And that's going to be so scary. Those two Pokemon are some of the best wall breakers in the format. So, very, very scary. Signature pick here for the New Orleans Pelipers and Pokemon grabbing Reuniclus. I love Reuniclus so much, man. Much like Hatterene in my pick. This is a Pokemon that can simply set Trick Room mid to late game and just win right there. That Life Orb Magic Guard gives it so much power, and it's one of the few Psychic types that can hit very, very hard with Focus Blast. And that's something that can really set it apart, especially in situations where you're running up against a Steel type that could otherwise take those Psychic type hits.
Exactly. It also has Energy Ball. It also has Thunder. It just has phenomenal move pull, Magic Guard, as you mentioned, and Regenerator too, which is something we could be seen. And also Corviknight pairs pretty well with it, resisting the bug type attacks. Duraludon. Ooh, yeah, talk about this. You have a lot of...
I love this pick, man. I thought Duraludon was very much so underrated in the A tier. This Pokemon being Steel and Dragon type only has those two weaknesses to Fighting and Ground. And in my opinion, this is one of the premier Pokemon in the format with its incredible bulk, great physical bulk. Special bulk leaves a bit to be desired, but you should not sleep on its 85 base speed stat. It can outspeed a lot of the metagame. It's a great Assault Vest user, and it gets Stealth Rock for support. So I'm very excited about Duraludon. I think it gets Stealth Rocks anyway. Someone said it doesn't. Yeah, I thought so. Too. Yeah, so this thing can be really, really offensive, and it's a great choice specs user as well, so lots of possibilities there. We've got the Chicago Cub Shoes pairing up Hydreigon with Togekiss. Pretty standard start to a Fairy Dragon Steel Core. I feel like I'm playing Ultra Sun and Moon again here. What do you think about this Togekiss pick?
Togekiss losing Roost, but having Morning Sun now can still Thunder Wave, can still Nasty Plot. I've seen some run like Ancient Power for Pokemon like Rotom Heat, which would otherwise be considered counters. I think Togekiss would be a lot scarier if we allowed Dynamax in this, so I'm very thankful that we did not, giving it max Airstream. But phenomenal coverage and fantastic special attack, and being a good fighting type answer to the Pokemon. And it just pairs really well with Hydreigon, right? It doesn't care about all the attacks coming at it for the most part. Ribombee is also a Pokemon that pairs pretty well with Como, considering Como is decently slow. Ribombee giving it obviously that sticky web option. And again, we do have Baton Pass allowed in this. However, Quiver Dance plus Baton Pass would not be allowed, since that will be boosting your speed plus your other stats. But it could still do something with Baton Pass, giving him a high speed tier as well, which I think is very important. Stun Spore options, U-turn for momentum, and Moonblast, Psychic, Bug Buzz in terms of coverage.
Yeah, I just feel like offensive Ribombee is so slept on. That thing is actually a legitimate threat. Stab Fairy at +1 with Quiver Dance is really, really strong. We're going to see the South Texas Sableye pick up Silvally. Silvally here is a very, very strong Pokemon that got a massive buff in this game with its multi-attack move getting buffed in base power. So that alone makes this a big threat. It's got access to Parting Shot. It's got access to Defog to clear hazards. But again, its real bread and butter is that multi-attack getting buffed for this generation, allowing it to deal way more damage with whatever type it chooses to be.
I really like how you took from that Pokemon clip the way they pronounced Silvally, by the way.
Silvally, dude.
I did not like that at all. I actually complained about that. Yeah, but yeah, giving him 17 different types? Was it 18, 17? Whatever, it gives him all the types. So yeah, it gives him that. And like, in a metagame where we have to pick 4 C tiers, that Pokemon can do as much. Ferrothorn as well pairs super well with Hatterene. Hatterene obviously having the Magic Bounce support as well, and resisting the fighting type attacks coming out. Ferrothorn can Spike, and Stealth Rock has access to Knockoff, one of the few Pokemon that has access to Knockoff. Leech Seed as well, and just defensively, I really like these two together as well, giving him a nice little rain option in terms of defensiveness, right? Like he can actually defend against rain. And also, hey, you might see Choice Band Ferrothorn on the Trick Room. Who knows? It has the move pool.
And Ferrothorn is so difficult to take down in this format. There's no hidden power. Yes, a lot of things got access to Mystical Fire, but definitely a tough pick to take down. We've got the Miami Dawn fans grabbing Gigantamax Snorlax. Of course, a massive threat, being able to get that G-Max replenish to restore its health. This thing can belly drum up with the right support, get the G-Max replenish off, and then just straight up never die. Also, the curse set with Snorlax I think will be a little bit more viable in single battles.
And
being able to curse up.
It's
got, Darkest Lariat, so it doesn't have to worry about those defense boosts or stat boosts from the opponent. And we already know Snorlax is just absurdly fat. No offense, but it's very difficult to knock out.
No offense, it wants to be fat. Also, I think the big thing about Kyle is that he's really thinking about his thumbnails right now. Like, fantastic Pokemon to have on thumbnails. Speaking of fantastic Pokemon to have on thumbnails, G-Max Gengar is phenomenal. Fantastic speed tier. Its moves are very, very, very strong. And even then, you know, making its Focus Blast accurate because it becomes Max Knuckle, albeit weaker. And being able to absorb Toxic Spikes as well. I love these two together. I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll see Aaron pick up some sort of Sand user, right? Because we do have Tyranitar, Gigalith, and a Paladon around to support Gengar. But offensively, his team is looking extremely threatening right there.
Yeah, we're going to see the Pittsburgh Pichus pair up Darmanitan with Gigantamax Charizard. Gigantamax Charizard's Max Flare turns into G-Max Wildfire, which is going to set up the Wildfire on the opponent's third of the field and chip away at their health every single turn for, I believe, 4 or 5 turns. With that said, Charizard is so strong because it can use that Max Airstream to boost its speed stat up a stage with things like Hurricane or Air Slash, allowing it to get not only faster, but hit even harder. Let's not forget about that. And again, paired with Darmanitan, a physical attacker, you have this massive special attacking threat with Charizard, which can just deal so much damage. And with the introduction of heavy-duty boots, it does not have to worry about those stealth rock hazards that can plague the field and limit its usefulness. The Maryland Torterrapins and under the radar grabbing Sylveon in the A tier paired with Dragapult. What do you think about that, Joey?
Phenomenal Pokemon, providing wish support, obviously being not caring about the dragon type attacks coming out at Dragapult as well, or the dark type attacks. They really pair well together. Sylveon getting Mystical Fire makes it very hard to break through as well with a special attacker, I think. And with wish support, with protect, it doesn't have a cleric move right now. That's fine, man. All it needs is Hyper Voice or Moonblast and Mystical Fire or Calm Mind. I love them together. Speaking of Pokemon I love, man, I was super happy that this Pokemon came back to me. Cinderace, man. I can't use Libero, but that doesn't matter. I got heavy duty boots, I got court change, I got a high speed tier. I get to use the best animation in the game all the time. Those thumbnails are gonna look fire my thumbnails are gonna look fire when I be firing off these pyro balls. I got priority and sucker punch. I got U-turn for momentum, and it even has some cool things like electro ball or like Zen headbutt or whatever you want to go from there. I'm actually really excited to use Cinderace base 116 attack as well. And a really fast Pokemon. I think it's another Pokemon that I don't have to run max speed on. Dracozolt coming out for Envy. And imagine this Pokemon under screens, man. This Pokemon under screens. If you guys didn't know, Dracozolt has Bolt Beak, which it doubles in power as this Pokemon moves before your opponent. So Choice Scarf can work with it. But I really like the way Envy is drafting right now. Dual Screens plus Dracozolt seems incredibly hard to take down. It can also run Substitute plus like Fire Fang and Dragon Claw with Hustle. Hustle obviously is the big thing you have to worry about. But as long as you're connecting, this Pokemon hits hard.
Bold prediction, MV loses a crucial match this season because he misses a hustle. Big League energy and Duncan can't die, picking up Pelipper here. Duncan is no stranger to rain, and it seems he's going to be starting off his draft with a weather team here, pairing Aegislash with Pelipper, which is a really nice combination. Pelipper, of course, can set the rain, to weaken the fire type attacks aimed at Aegislash. It can dodge those ground type attacks also aimed at Aegislash, and it can be a big threat on its own kind of account, being able to fire off 100% accurate hurricanes, water boosted, rain boosted attacks, and again, its main kind of use is being able to set up the rain and then U-turn out as a slow pivot or even a fast pivot to get into rain sweeper. So it'll be interesting to see how Duncan approaches the next few rounds to pair with that Pelipper. And to round out round 2, we've got the big Duraludon Gigantamax pick here with its G-Max depletion, removing the PP of opponent's Pokemon as a replacement for its Max Wormwind. Very strong pick there, and with a double Dragon Core for the DC Dracovish and Wolf. What do you think about that, man?
I wonder how that's actually going to work, because I've always tried to use that move, but I've always failed to like get it off. So I do like it though. It makes Duraludon incredibly bulky. I've seen it live like attacks from like Darmanitan, for instance. So I like that. It gives him a Stealth Rocker as well. And they're two Pokemon that are not weak to the same types, which is nice as well. So I really like them together. And I think that G-Max Duraludon will be interesting because it can do like Max Overgrowth with Solar Beam or Max Lightning with Thunder. So it has a whole lot of options there too. I do like the regular Duraludon pick the most. I'm gonna be really biased here. I think Cinderace is one of the best picks of this round. I'm super biased.
We're going to see a lot of Gigantamax picks going there. In fact, quite a few in a row as the teams start to develop out their cores. Fairy Dragon Steel, Fire, Water, Grass are going to be really common themes you're going to see here. One thing I really like, though, is I want to shout out the Toxtricity Mamoswine for the Gators. That is just an incredibly offensive duo together, and he has not even used his Gigantamax pick yet. So something to keep in mind, an eye out. Some of these teams maybe go for the early G-Max picks. Some maybe hold off till later rounds, and that can either set them up for a really good advantage or a really big disadvantage, depending on how they're building their teams. But overall, really standard stuff here. I think the one thing that may be a bit of a surprise would be the Ribombee, but I think when you factor in its speed and the value of Sticky Webs, I think it's definitely a worthwhile pick there. So nice finish up to round 2 here. And the DC Dracovish and Coach Wolf, the champion of the WBE, who's vying for his 4th championship, I think, is going to be kicking us off here for round 3. So let's get it started with the DC Dracovish. We've got Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat here, providing the heat with its Levitate ability, being able to dodge those ground type moves that could be aimed at Duraludon. But what Rotom does is it pivots, man. I think Pokemon like Dracovish and Duraludon really appreciate that. They really appreciate being able to get those free switch-ins and pressure something offensively. Rotom can trick Choice Scarfs onto slower defensive Pokemon. It can burn offensive threats. And of course, it can be very, very offensive with Overheat, Thunderbolt.
Nasty Plot now.
Yeah, and it does get, it's true. It gets access to Nasty Plot as a setup sweeper, and that base 86 speed is actually really, really valuable. Again, with the average speed of the league being a little bit lower. Duncan gonna grab Ditto, one of the most powerful Pokemon in single battles. What do you think about this pick?
So Ditto's interesting, right? Because it actually had like top 10 usage in OU, and when you think of it here, there will be a lot of scary Gigantamax Pokemon. The thing about Ditto is that we're not going to allow it to be able to. So just because it's going to copy a Gmax Pokemon doesn't mean we'll allow it to Dynamax after. I think that's pretty fair, but just not having to really worry about people copying. You know, like maybe his rain sweepers, because obviously Duncan is committing to a rain team, as we can see. When you draft Pelipper round 2, you're definitely committing to a rain team. So I like that. Ditto can give him Stealth Rock options too. We do see Envy pick up Seismitoad, a fantastic pairing with Dracozolt. It was actually one of the Pokemon that a few people were looking for themselves, me personally. But it's actually also one of the best answers to Dracozolt too, being physically defensive, being immune to the Bolt Beat coming out, and also giving him a water immunity too, as well as a Swift Swim Abuser. So I mean, we just saw Duncan having Rain, so if Envy ends up playing Duncan, he has the Rain matchup there potentially too. I love Seismitoad. It's one of the few Pokemon that gets both Stealth Rock and Toxic in this generation currently. Another cool pick right here. I talked about how Skarmory and Celesteela don't exist, and I picked up Corviknight. So go ahead and show me your Haxorus switch-ins right now, bro. My goal this WBE is to run Choice Band Haxorus as many times as possible and to pick up Kill Leader. I'm gonna be completely honest. That's my goal with Haxorus. I'm trying to nuke people. We got First Impression. We got Swords Dance. We got Close Combat now too. Earthquake, Mold Breaker. What you think about my pick, Dan?
I think it's a very powerful pick, man. And let's not even forget, if you're able to get that Dragon Dance off, this thing is so difficult to switch into. That Mold Breaker, really, really powerful. What a great pick overall. We're going to see the Maryland Torterrapins grab Gigantamax Lapras, which, very cool pick. Lapras is one of the... it's a very special Pokemon in the sense that it can set up Aurora Veil without weather. So by being able to fire off its Gigantamax move, set up the Aurora Veil, that just gives Pokemon like Dragapult an opportunity to Dragon Dance later on, or Sylveon a chance to start Calm Minding, or whatever it may be. And Lapras with the Gigantamax is so bulky. It is just so difficult to take down. Great typing overall. And let's not forget, Lapras can set up on its own too. It does have access to Dragon Dance, and you can easily run a physical set with Gigantamax.
With Avalanche.
Yeah, it can be really, really scary. Rotom Wash actually going after Rotom Heat, which is something you don't see too often, but Rotom Wash, very, very strong Pokemon here, being able to do a lot of the things the other Rotom can do, but with the most reliable of its special moves, Hydro Pump, not having to have any issues with, losing your special attack after using it. So very, very strong Pokemon here. Rotom, of course, pairing nicely with Charizard. That's been a very good pair in the past, being able to defog away those hazards for Charizard as well, and then again serve as like a nice Volt Switcher, or slow Volt Switcher to switch out. And again, with no hidden powers, as I was going to mention earlier, it's very difficult to take down. The Melbourne Rotoms grabbing their Sand Setter for Excadrill, and they choose Hippowdon, Joey.
Yeah, Hippo works really well with Drew. I mean, we did say we saw it coming. One thing just to note, Rotom does not have defog right now.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not mistaken. But Nasty Plot is a big thing. But Hippo is just, I mean, he had to pick one of his sand users, and I'm glad he picked Hippo. It actually gives him a Pokemon that can switch into attacks, right? Gengar and Excadrill, they hit hard, but typically they don't want to switch into attacks unless it's like a weaker fairy move. But Hippo gives him Stealth Rock, gives him access to a phasing move as well as reliable recovery, and obviously the sand is the big thing for Excadrill. Alcremie coming out, and I'm actually a big Alcremie fan. I'm pretty excited to see like which one he runs every single week. I hope it's a different color one every single week, or different cream. But having access to Calm Mind, Aromatherapy as well, being a cleric, which is really nice when you have a Resting Snorlax and Corsola, who does not like status. Draining Kiss or Dazzling Gleam, Mystical Fire. You can even Acid Armor, stuff like that too. So I think it's an interesting pick, and I think it pairs really well with Snorlax and Corsola in terms of what it does. And he's really covering that Snorlax's weaknesses like really well right here. Weakness.
Yeah, very nice to see. We've got the Bullet Punch Club and Coach Uzi grabbing one of his faves, which is regular Gengar. Regular Gengar, obviously, a couple gens ago lost its Levitate, but Curse Body can still be really valuable, and it just hits so hard, man. Again, that 110 base speed allows to outspeed the majority of the metagame at far off. Really, really powerful Shadow Balls that most teams are not even going to have anything to deal with. But I love the sub disable set, or just sub in general, because it forces so many switches, and you reduce the need to make predictions. You can simply substitute up and then just fire off powerful Sludge Waves or Focus Blasts or even Dazzling Gleams. The one thing it does lose is Hidden Power Ice, but overall, very, very strong Pokemon. The South Texas Sableye and in Vivid Color grabbing Bronzong out of the B tier. So Vivid going for some of the lower tier picks early on. Bronzong, a premier Stealth Rock setter and great Trick Room user as well.
Yeah, it does miss out on both Toxic and Psywave right now, which is, I think, pretty big considering most bronze. I've used it last in the generation of the WBE, and I was using Toxic, Protect, Psywave like multiple weeks in a row, and it was able to do its thing. But like you said, riding Trick Room support, providing a nice steel type that means Silvally can run, or Silvally, whatever it's called, can run its whatever set it wants. I like this pick. G-Max Santa. I feel like he picked it because he ran into it a lot like I did while I was playing through Sword and Shield. And he's like, you know what? Fine. Maybe it's talking to me. But
this picture makes it look so cool, by the way.
Yeah.
I never liked this mon, but it looks so epic right now.
Bro, it doesn't look like that top or a Beyblade right now. It actually looks sick. It looks like it's a shotgun too out of the nose as well.
That's
like,
it.
Really cool. Yeah, but I really like that. I don't like guns, but I really like that. But I like Sandaconda, give him a nice little ground type. Access to Stealth Rock as well. Body Press can be a coil set too. What's its ability locked as G-Max?
Yeah, so its ability actually traps the opponent, which could be really good for it to get it. If you trap something that's maybe considered to be death fodder or whatever, you could use it to like start setting up as well, so that could be really good. The Cubchoo's grabbing Copper Raja here as their steel type. Copper Raja with an incredible HP and attack stat, lacks a little bit elsewhere, a very slow Pokemon, but a good steel type as we had mentioned earlier, with great coverage options including Power Whip, gets to boost with sheer force on things like Play Rough as well, which is cool. And let's not forget, it can run Heavy Metal and fire off some massive, what is that move called? The
Heavy Slams and Heat Crashes.
Thank you, yeah. Heavy Slams and Heat Crashes, and they don't, you know, the weight moves don't work against Dynamax Pokemon, but you know what your opponent's Gigantamax is going to be. And I'm going to grab Gigantamax Flapple here, and I was thinking about my Gigantamax pick, and I was torn between a couple different things, but Gigantamax Flapple is actually absurdly strong with Hustle, and you don't have to worry about that accuracy drop when you Gigantamax. So you can get a Dragon Dance off and then fire off incredible attacks with that Gigantamax Flapple. And again, it's a great wall breaker because it's Apple Drop move, its signature move, actually lowers the defense stat of the opponent, so you can easily spam that. And it's got two other good abilities too, Ripen and Gluttony, I believe. So some really cool options to run on this thing outside of Hustle, but I think the Hustle set is going to be really premier.
I love Gudra with Corviknight as well. I think they pair very well together. This also gives them a better special wall as well as a strong special attacker to pair alongside Reginiclus, as well as a grass immunity with Sap Sipper if you want to do some gooey things or some hydration things as well. You can. Phenomenal special move pull, access to Dragon Tail too, and I believe it also gets cursed because I know that I've used Sliggoo with Curse Rest Talk. So Gudra might be really hard to take down, especially if your draft is very specially based. So I like that as a pick for it, and it comes out and takes the fire type attacks aimed and the electric type attacks aimed at Corviknight. Mandibuzz, speaking about Pokemon that can take hits, Gator finally drafting something a little bit more bulkier. Give him a Defogger, a knockoff user, also has access to Toxic, one of the few that has access to Toxic knockoff this generation. Roost and U-Turn for momentum, Foul Play, Mandibuzz being a nice little ground immunity as well, pairing that with Toxicity, and appreciating Mamoswine being immune to the electric attacks aimed at it. So really nice pick for Gator. Heavy duty boots means it doesn't take stealth rock damage too. And also now his team can switch into Aegislash, which is a pretty big thing. Before Aegislash is coming out and clicking Shadow Ball. Is a pre-recorded video. No, this is live. I'm seeing you right now.
This is so live. And we've got the Milwaukee Sawsbucks grabbing the Premier Trapper Gothitelle in the S tier. Having the ability to run Shadow Tag and trap opponents is so good. But let's not forget about its competitive ability, which can dissuade opponents from using things like Sticky Webs or the Gigantamax Pokemon. It can boost its special attack stat. Another Trick Room option for Copper Raja. So let's not forget that. But again, the fact that this thing can trap, can force Shed Shells, it can do a lot of different things, Calm Mind, and just be an absolute nuisance.
Yeah, I love Gothitelle a lot, and I know you've seen me use it last generation as well as the WBE. I feel like it sets a precedent. Like if it puts in work 1 week, every week after people will be running Shed Shells. So I think that really does set a precedent with Gothitelle. Interesting that he picked it up so early. I think that's a little bit off there. I'm like being a little confused.
Yeah, but we got a little mistake. Don't worry.
Okay, no problem. But I really like Copper Raja. I think it's the steel type Mamoswine. I also really like Hippowdon early from Cybertron. I feel like you need to solidify which sand user, otherwise you're gonna use it. I think Ditto might be is Ditto the odd pick out of this? Maybe not. Flapple, I want to talk a little bit about that. You mentioned, obviously it making its move stronger, and obviously from there you can go on. The biggest thing is, of course, you miss out on max overgrowth, but your move is so strong anyway, it doesn't really matter. I actually recently used it. And another cool thing is you can use like Wing Attack or Max Airstream to boost Flapple's speed, and that way you can go back to your Choice Band user after if you want to use that. So I think that's a really cool G-Max pick. I'm all for Flapple this one. And I love Gengar, being a grounded poison, being able to absorb toxic spikes, amazing. Those are my favorite picks.
I believe in the Flapple, man. I think it could be really strong. I think when it Gigantamax is very useful. Obviously, I'll have to run that Hustle and hope for the best, but having those 3 turns, like if I can get a Dragon Dance up and then have 3 turns to attack with the Gigantamax, that's so hard to switch into. As you mentioned, you can run like berries on it too to pop those and run acrobatics. Like there's a lot of opportunities there with Flapple, I think, so I'm excited to try that out. But let's jump into round 4. The Milwaukee Sawsbucks are going to be kicking things off here for round 4, and it is going to be Vaporeon. Big spoilers there, of course. Vaporeon, a bulky water type that I've seen the Sawsbucks run in the past. This thing can do a lot of different things, including Baton Pass to friends. It can Wish, I believe. It obviously has Scald and Ice Beam, but it does lose a little bit because, what's it missing out on? I don't know. It's
Toxic.
That's the big one, right?
And
it's missing Toxic. So that's going to definitely hurt its ability to stall out Pokemon, but it's a really good Pokemon with Water Absorb and nice pairing for some of the other threats. Very slow team here from the Sawsbucks, though, so we'll have to kind of keep an eye out and see if he tries to draft a little bit of speed, but definitely some Trick Room options there. Speaking of Trick Room, we've got Runerigus here for the Gators, grabbing a secondary ground type and a Pokemon that can set up various hazards, including Stealth Rock and Toxic Spikes. A good Trick Room setter, as we said, and his team is really kind of in the mid-speed tier, so a Trick Room option is not out of the question here, and this Pokemon's Wandering Spirit ability can be really annoying for the opponent as well.
Yeah, on Showdown, it actually stays with you the entirety. I have no idea how it actually works on Wi-Fi, so that's something I'll probably find out if I ever battle Gator. But on Showdown, like I said, it follows you the entirety of the game. I lost my ability the entirety of a game once when I was playing. But it also has access to Iron Defense plus Body Press. I wish it got Swords Dance. Weavile, though, speaking of Pokemon that does get Swords Dance, love its speed tier. It lost Pursuit. It doesn't have Knockoff, but it does have Throat Chop. Ice Cold Crash, Ice Shard, can still low kick. Giving him a nice little dark type to round out that coverage of a dark and ghost resist for Reuniclus. And again, in a generation where, you know, base 70 is considered average, like, you know, this is above average speed right here with Weavile, right? There's very few Pokemon that'll be able to outspeed Weavile too. So I really, really love Weavile. Using it in the past, I think I used it versus you as well at some point.
Hey, I saw you grab Cinderace, man. I was inspired. You know, we're the duo here. I'm going to grab Inteleon. Speaking of speed tiers, man, having the 121 base speed Inteleon is phenomenal. Obviously, having access to Snipe Shot. But the thing I love about this thing, man, is it actually can be a physical attacker as well as a special attacker. Let's not sleep on the fact that it gets Fell Stinger, Swords Dance, Aqua Jet, and Ice Shard. So do not sleep on that. But ultimately, that very fast U-turn is crucial to the team. It gives me something very quick, gives me a nice water type to pair with my Flapple, and overall, a very nice cleaner that can do a lot of work against teams that are unprepared because of how fast this thing can be.
I think the scariest thing is you can also run dual screens with Flapple as well as like Trick Room Hatterene, so I'm really scared about that. But we do see an immediate water resist and immunity picked up right after Dan picking up Inteleon. We see the Gastrodon coming out. Now Gastrodon is very limited in what it does, but it's not bad, period, right? Didn't you use it all in the last season?
I love this thing, man. And with no hidden power, dude.
Yeah, you don't even have to toss on a Ringo.
This thing is insane.
Gastrodon's gonna be like, wait, I can run leftovers in a draft league? That's crazy. But real talk, Gastrodon can now run leftovers because there's no hidden power grass and recover, clear smog, earthquake, curse options. Lucario, my boy Chase is drafting a strong UU team right here. I'm gonna tell you that with the stick you have right now. But hey, man, no disrespect to Lucario. Lucario having obviously Meteor Mash, close combat, extreme speed, and Bullet Punch for its physical side, Crunch as well. Then has Nasty Plot for the special side, having fantastic special attack stat as well. With Sticky Web, do not sleep on Chase's team with this. I do think that with the heavy duty boots, it'll be really interesting to see how the Sticky Web actually plays out, because obviously heavy duty boots have made a massive change to both singles, doubles, well, not doubles, but singles and draft league itself. Salazzle, a grounded poison type, subtoxic. And when I say grounded poison, I don't mean ground poison, guys. I mean, it's touching the ground as a poison type. So it can absorb toxic spikes. It can sub-toxic. It can toxic everything because of its corrosion ability. And again, its speed tier gives Vivid that just great. Like, he has the slowest in, like, Bronzong, right? He has mid in Silvally. And then he has, like, fast in Salazzle. So I love that, as well as Nasty Pot. Losing hidden power, pretty big for Salazzle. Can't really break through rock types very well. But still, sub-toxic sets really, really nice.
We've got the Bullet Punch Club here grabbing Noivern. Again, we talk a lot about speed tiers and how there's not a lot of fast threats, and we're starting to see a lot of them go in succession here. Noivern, another very blistering fast Pokemon that can hit incredibly hard with things like Hurricane and Draco Meteors. It's a great, choice Scarf user, choice Specs user, and I love its ability Frisk. I think information is so crucial in competitive Pokemon, and being able to see what the opponent's item is can really give a lot of information. But this thing has great coverage options, and because of its speed stat, a lot of times it can run Modest, and while a special attack stat isn't that high, because it's got those high base power moves, if it can hit those Hurricanes, man, it's going to be very, very difficult to take down. We've got the Miami Dawn fans grabbing Drapion, the Poison and Dark-type Pokemon with only one weakness. I believe Drapion still has access to Knockoff, which is something very unique that it can do. It also has Toxic Spikes, which is really cool. And I think paired with this team, this thing could be really, really scary to deal with because it could be so offensive with Swords Dance, but it could also be so incredibly defensive too.
Yeah, actually, when you first look at Kyle's team, right, when you see Corsola go first, you're like, well, this is really weird. But then you see as it's coming together, he has Curse Lax, he has Alcremie, he has a Spin Blocker, he has a T-Spike Absorber and T-Spiker. I'm actually really liking his team, and I think he has good ways of punishing Steel types too. Rotom coming out right here with Cybertron, pairing really well together, giving him a nice little water resist here and a ground immunity. I actually think personally that in terms of Rotoms right now in OU, just from that perspective, Rotom Heat is the best. Rotom comes second. I think Rotom Wash is actually third. So I really like this pick. Of course, Draft League has nothing to do with that. But Thunder Wave, Will-O-Wisp, Discharge, Nasty Plot on Rotom I think is the biggest thing. And basically, an electric type that can beat ground types, I think is huge. And there's very limited Ferrothorn, right? Only one person can get Ferrothorn, which is Uzi in this league. So just a phenomenal pick there. We see Nexus is just going for straight power every single turn. Like right here, we have the Unburdened Hitmonlee or the Reckless Hitmonlee with the high jump kick and rapid spin support for his team too. So finally getting some sort of hazard control there. Obviously, Charizard is probably going to be running the heavy duty boots, but doesn't always want to do that. Priority in Mach Punch and Sucker Punch, access to bulk up, and I mean even access to, like I said, Unburden with like Fake Out or Rapid Spin. Rapid Spin giving Hitmonlee a speed boost without having to use Unburden, I think is a pretty big thing, pretty big buff for Hitmonlee.
Yeah, imagine this thing coming in, rapid spinning, and then reckless high jump kicking things.
Yes,
dude, like that's just absurd. We're gonna see the Maryland Torterrapins with the Roserade pickup here. Roserade, a grass and poison type Pokemon that has the ability to set those hazards as well with both Toxic Spikes and Spikes. One of the big things that it gets kind of nerfed on though is it used to really benefit from the Technician boosted hidden powers, which it can no longer use, but still a pretty big offensive threat with a great special attack stat and some decent coverage options there. I believe it has Weather Ball now, if I'm not mistaken, which could be really cool if paired with some of the other threats on the team. But overall, just a really bulky, or naturally especially bulky grass type Pokemon that can definitely support the rest of the team with hazards and be a little bit annoying to deal with.
Ooh, oh, this is me. Okay,
That's
every
you.
single time I see these picks, I'm like, yo, this guy dropped. This
Guy's drafted fire, bro.
We got, yo, it's been a minute, guys. We drafted Piloswine right here, guys, and I've used Piloswine last season at WBE. Amazing Pokemon, Stealth Rock. It's basically a bulky Mamoswine, right? With still base 100 attack, access to that rocks, access to priority, access to curse, and I love Piloswine, man. It gives me a nice little electric immunity as well, which pairs really nice with Corviknight. And I'm sorry, I'm loving my draft. I really am loving my draft this season. Like,
He's a little bit biased.
Yeah, I'm very biased towards my draft, but I mean, I think my draft is like, this is like one of the most offensive ones. Speaking of,
I think we formed the Trinity, myself, you, and Envy here, forming the starter Trinity here with Rillaboom. Rillaboom does not have access to its hidden ability yet, but it's still a big threat, man. It's got Fake Out to break Focus Sashes, but its real bread and butter is it's just got so much attack and physical bulk, and it's got a good speed tier as well with Drum Beating, allows it to slow the opponent down and allow it to get that second hit off again. Can be a really, really big threat.
Yeah, also access to knockoff right now too is really big. Knockoff, Earthquake, and sub bulk up too, and Swords Dance if I'm not mistaken as well. So Duncan.
Oh my God, the big league energy.
Yeah.
This is gonna be very powerful in rain, man.
This definitely emanates like big league energy right here, man. A water bubble choice band Araquanid in the rain. I cannot wait. And gives him sticky web option too. It's interesting because like I feel like Duncan's Pokemon, like Ditto, Araquanid, and Pelipper are all Pokemon that pair well with like different Pokemon that we haven't seen yet, but I really do like the Pelipper plus Araquanid pick here, and I love Sticky Web plus Age Slash. Age Slash being able to run like choice sets this generation are really cool, and Araquanid really just helps that happen. Whimsicott from Whoopi Glick. I love this pick too. Gives him nice little priority, nice little dual screen, nice little, I don't think it's dual screen. Is it dual screens with Whimsicott? I remember it knows light screen. I don't remember if it learns reflect, but gets Memento as well as U-turn, and being a nice little fairy type too. I mean, he did draft Double Dragon, so it makes sense for him to want to pick that up. And he's getting a little Fire, Water, Grass core going on. You can count Dracovish as part of the Fire, Water, Grass core.
I don't know, man, but my man's still playing VGC out here, so yeah, he didn't get the memo. This is singles this season. God forbid we make it doubles next season, man. Can we just ban Wolf? We've got the various picks here. The Gothitelle swap with the Vaporeon, so don't just ignore that. But overall, a really cool round. We're starting to see some of those B tier Pokemon being taken as the teams try to fill out some of their weaknesses and kind of add to their strengths. A little bit of speed going there with the Weavile, the Inteleon is pretty cool to see. I think the biggest pick, though, in my opinion, is that Araquanid pair with Pelipper, dude.
Yeah.
Rain plus that very offensive Araquanid. I don't think there's anything that lives like Choice Banded or even Mystic Water boosted liquidations in Rain. Like, what is gonna live that?
Yeah,
Gastrodon is. That's it.
It's crazy. I also want to note that Salazzle, the chat told me, gets Dragon Dance now, and it has access to Fire Lash, Gunk Shot, Knockoff. So that's just a pretty decent physical move pool. So that's interesting. Like all the Pokemon that we see got that. I'm a big fan of the Rillaboom pick as well as the Inteleon pick too. I think Inteleon works phenomenally with your team. And again, I mentioned dual screens, but I think that's going to be the scariest way you can run it. Or even Swords Dance options, like you said, or even just specs. And I thought it was really funny. Like I said, we got the Water Absorb Pokemon right after we saw Inteleon get picked.
Yeah,
So.
that's it, man. But you know what? I'll snipe shot around it, dude. I know it doesn't work that way, but it doesn't double.
It should work that way.
It should, dude. It should. Anyway, I've got Stalwart Duraludon, man. We'll just do that. I don't know. This isn't double battles, man. What's going
That
on?
should also work that way too. What's going on?
Let's jump right into round 5 here of the 10 rounds. And thank you guys for the 4,000 plus of you that are watching the WBE draft. Kicking things off is the DC Dracovish and Wolf grabbing Orbeetle. And I gotta say, this was one of the biggest snipes, man. I was 1,000,000% taking Orbeetle on my next pick, and I was really hopeful to get this thing in C tier. It is a huge, huge threat. Being able to set up those sticky webs for the team at a very nice base 90 speed paired with Dracovish is so scary. But let's not forget about the Calm Mind, Iron Defense, Stored Power, Recover your Orbeetle, man.
Yep, and also a big thing. I feel like we would have tiered this higher if I remembered as well. But our baton pass rules. You can baton pass both Iron Defense and Calm Minds to another Pokemon. So Dracovish or Rotom Heat getting it or Duraludon is very, very, very scary. Cool pick. Once again, we see a Rain Abuser that doesn't necessarily have the Swift Swing coming out from Duncan, but he is packing, the Jolteon to make sure that he doesn't lose to Thunderbolt from Pokemon. So I like that. Great speed tier as well. Good electric type in general. Can land accurate Thunders in the Rain. Volt Switch. It did lose both Signal Beam and Hidden Power. So that's a pretty big, loss for Jolteon, but can also do some sort of Yawn, Protect stuff. Can run Quick Feet as well to let it outspeed all the Choice Scarfers too. So this would be an interesting pick. What you think about Jolteon, bro?
I love it. There's not a lot of ground types, so I think that Jolteon's going to just be able to fire off Thunders, and it's going to be really strong. We're going to see the Chip Chargers grab Arcanine here. Arcanine being a overall very good Pokemon, being able to be physically offensive, specially offensive, physically defensive, specially defensive. It can do a lot of different things, man. And again, that versatility is what really sets Arcanine apart. We see a nice little Fire, Water, Grass core there with Seismitoad, Rillaboom, and Arcanine. And then some really cool support options there too with the Grimmsnarl, Dracozolt. So overall, really good Pokemon. That 95 base speed tier is really, really clutch for Arcanine. Again, its versatility just has like no limits, it feels like. You and the Dreepies are grabbing Gardevoir, regular Gardevoir. Where's the Mega, Joey?
Yeah, it's not my fault, man. It's not my fault, the way the game goes. But yeah, I feel like this time I'm definitely drafting a little bit more offensive than I typically do. Like maybe this goes back to all the way when I used Kyurem Black plus Garchomp on the same team. But Gardevoir is an offensive fairy that can support the team with Memento, as well as Healing Wish and Trick support. Has Mystical Fire, so it makes up for his lack of Hidden Power Fire as well. And has Trace too. And, we see Duncan's Rain team forming right up there. So I figured, okay, well, I don't have any good water resist right now, so let me just outspeed his Pokemon because I traced them. Obstagoon, dude, I love Kelly's team because he has the Aurora Veil and he has defensive options, but then he has like these straight up scary offensive options. Obstagoon has a phenomenal speed tier in this generation, access to knockoff. Obstruct is great because if you're a physical wall trying to break it and you touch it, it lowers your defense, so then you can use the Guts Boosted Facade, if he can get that Flame Orb. One thing we did mention is that this league is going to be legit, so good luck getting that Flame Orb, bro. But close combat, too. I mean, we did say you could trade, but close combat as well, and just a really, really cool pick overall. Another normal type.
Yeah, we're going to see the regular Snorlax get picked up here for the Pittsburgh Pichus, a Pokemon that Nexus has used before. Very, very bulky Pokemon. Again, being able to run Curse, being able to run Belly Drum if it wanted to. Rest, Sleep, Talk is still a very viable set on this thing. And it's just, I mean, those Super Berries did get nerfed, but I think that Snorlax, even with that nerf, is still very viable. I think the Curse Rest Talk set is really cool. Otherwise, with Thick Fat, kind of shores up some of those potential weaknesses in the future. But overall, just a really tough Pokemon to knock out because of just how bulky it is. The Melbourne Rotom's grabbing Jellicent, which is a Pokemon I've actually really grown to like in this generation. A bulky water type with 2 cool abilities in Water Absorb and Curse Body. It can set Trick Room, which can be really cool. But its main thing that I love about it is Strength Sap. Such a great move that can lower the opponent's attack stat and heal this thing all the way back up. So you really have to be mindful of how you approach this thing, and it's just so naturally bulky that it can be really difficult to take down. I love burning things and using Hex. A lot of cool options there with Rotom.
Yeah, the defensive ghost type and the offensive one, I think it pairs really well too. Water resist as well. And I love the way Aaron is drafting here. Typically, we see him draft VGC Pokemon, and that's exactly what he's doing here. But I feel like these ones still go closer to singles than they do in VGC. Centiskorch is such an interesting Pokemon. With the heavy-duty boots, you know, I was really hoping when this Pokemon was revealed that it would be as fast as Scolipede. It's not, unfortunately. It's nowhere near it. But with the heavy-duty boots, Flash Fire and a Flame Body as well, Fire Lash and Coil sets with Power Whip and Leech Life. I think it's a really well-rounded Pokemon, and if he picks up a Rock Resist for his team going forward, I think it can really work. But he has that normal immunity, that fighting immunity, that dragon immunity, that psychic immunity, and now he has that fire immunity as well. Ooh, what do you think about Morpeko?
Dude, this pick was such a snipe for me as well, man. Morpeko gets the ability to Rapid Spin to boost its speed, but what people sleep on is the fact that its Aura Wheel move is a very, very powerful Electric type attack that switches to a Dark type attack and boosts its speed. It's absurdly good how strong Morpeko can be. Again, its attack stat not super high, but that base power of that Aura Wheel is so good that it can continue to switch back and forth between its hangry mode and its well-nourished mode and be able to do a lot of damage with that. Parting Shot as well. You can't sleep on that. Being able to Parting Shot out and provide some support to the rest of the team. Yeah. The South Texas Stabilized and Vivid grabbing Phalanx, which does have the ability to Omni Boost in C tier. Joey, who messed this one up?
Okay, this was actually, we didn't mess this up. It was B tier on the dock, but on the site, it was C tier. So we just let it keep going. But yeah, Phalanx can Omni Boost. Obviously, with no retreat, you cannot switch out. So that's a big thing. And then it does have access to Close Combat, Iron Head, Throat Chop, and Zen Headbutt in terms of coverage. Can bulk up as well as Swords Dance. Double Dancing with Lumberry seems very scary, especially after Omni Boosting. And only like Pokemon like Dragapult and Accelgor outspeed after boosting. So definitely Vivid being very smart, picking up, you know, the oversight on our part right there. Delma is giving him a nice little spin blocker. He has Stealth Rock and he does have Stake Web, so Delma gives him a spin blocker, gives him a nice little water resist as well alongside Como, and as well as a spinner. Anchor Shot is incredible. Power Whip is strong too. Earthquake. I really wish Ghost types got a better physical move. We need something better than Shadow Claw and Shadow Punch, please. Going forward, give us something.
Phantom Force, bro. Phantom Force.
No. We ain't using no 2-turn move where my opponent can switch out. I guess if you Anchor Shot them, they can't. But I'm a big fan of Delmize. I've always wanted to draft it.
We got the Cubchoose here grabbing Ninetales to set the sun on a team that has not yet taken advantage of that, but Ninetales, very cool Pokemon that can obviously set the sun and then fire off very powerful special attacks like Fire Blast, but also Solar Beam to hit those Water-type Pokemon that might switch into it. Overall, a very, very cool pick. We'll have to see if he decides to grab some sort of a Chlorophyll Sweeper to pair with that Ninetales, Joey.
Yeah, I know you've used Ninetales a lot, but not this form of it. I do see that regular Charizard is still around, if I'm not mistaken, so it can be picked up. And obviously, there's a lot of cool little picks like Shift Tree that got Heat Wave this generation too. So really interesting pick. B tier is interesting for Ninetales, but I mean, it makes sense considering what we have in C tier. Chandelure.
I'm feeling good about this one, man. This is this is a very good pick. I've wanted to use this thing for a long time, and I think it's better now than ever before, man. Being able to fire off incredibly powerful Shadow Balls, some of the strongest in the game, as well as some powerful Fire-type moves. But I love the support options, too. Memento is really cool. Trick Room options as well. And this thing can be run as a Specs user with Trick. It can be used as Choice Scarf user with Trick. It can just be incredibly offensive with Calm Mind. I really like this Pokemon. I love its fire immunity. I love its fighting immunity, which pairs really nicely with Duraludon. So some cool options there.
No Pursuit. No Pursuit's a big thing as well.
That's a big thing for Chandelure. We've got the New Orleans Pelipper's grabbing Galvantula, which looks amazing in this pose, by the way. Galvantula rocking that 108 base speed, being able to set up those sticky webs and hit those 97% accurate thunders, 97% accurate thunders. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right? I don't know. Something like, yeah, 97. 97. Bug Buzz, of course, very nice. Doesn't have Hidden Power Ice anymore, but overall, really cool Pokemon. And I think being able to set up those webs could be really useful for the team, especially if we grab some more heavy hitters moving on. Sock, one of the more underrated fighting types with access to Sturdy. I love that. And let's not forget about that Mold Breaker as well.
Yeah, in close combat, bulk up. I don't know if it still has knockoff. I feel like it kind of still does, but maybe it doesn't because Conkeldurr doesn't get it here. But Earthquake with Mold Breaker is pretty cool too for levitate Pokemon. And Gator's team is really interesting. Like I always feel like Gator drafts in like a way that's not always easy to understand. And I'm not trying to like trash on his team because I mean last time he had a team that people would have said was really bad, but he did really good or really well with the team. So and I also was talking with him for some stuff as well, so I'm not going to trash talk what I was doing as well. But I love the offensive pressure that Sock brings with it. Appleton, we see, Steve is really drafting this like really slow Trick Room based build, but defensively, Appleton and Vaporeon are really tough to break through, I feel. As well as its Apple Acid ability, which lowers your special defense. Leech Seed Recover can ripen too. And I really like this. And Thick Fat is pretty big too. I went for Ice Beam once on a 4 times weak Pokemon and I did 24%. So like it's just something that I really like the Appleton pick here. Which one was your favorite though going forward this round?
I love Chandelure, but if I'm not gonna pick myself, like I said, the 2 picks that I was looking at personally, Orbeetle for the Dracovish, I think was just a really good pick, and I think Morpeko, in my opinion, was the best steal this round if you don't count the Phalanx. Morpeko just hits so absurdly hard. Being able to Rapid Spin and Parting Shot with a pretty decent speed tier is really, really valuable. But let's not sleep on that Obstagoon, man, because getting that in round 5, I think, is a really good pickup.
Yeah, honestly, I think Oro Wheel is probably the best new move we have this generation. 110 base power before stab is absolutely insane, and also boosting your speed in that. So I really like that pick. Phalanx obviously is a steal, and I agree with you on Orbeetle too. I really wanted that Pokemon as well, and it's one of the good like lower tier picks. And the way that the baton pass, like I didn't even know about the baton pass rule until like recently. Not recently, but like until like the middle of the draft. So it's like, wow. That's a really cool pick. But for me personally, I actually think your Chandelure is the biggest threat. Because again, a Choice Spec Chandelure being able to fire off attacks and not worry about pursuit is the biggest thing. Like there's no Tyranitar comes in and it's going to take 20% from Shadow Ball, and then you're going to switch out and not care. That's it. Like I love that pick. I love that pick.
Very, very low risk with Chandelure being able to spam those very powerful 145 base special attack onslaught there. Let's move into round 6. The Milwaukee Saucebugs have your wheel here with their Appleton pick, and they're going to follow it up with regular Sandaconda here in the B tier. Sandaconda with its sand spit ability can set up that sand if it gets hit, but it also has shed skin, so it can remove those statuses that can be aimed at it. Coil makes this thing very, very bulky on the physical side, and it has a lot of opportunities there to set up. Its move pool leaves a bit to be desired, but I think that Coil set with Rest could be really viable.
Yeah, and also obviously the Sand Spit ability. There's not too many Sand Rush users in this generation. Drillbur's still around. Drill down there, Drillbur can still do it right now and give him a nice little ground type too. I love the defensive core of Vaporeon and that. Double coming out. And speaking of, this was literally drafted because of the Baton Pass rule. I was in the call when he said, wait, we can Baton Pass everything. And if you guys don't know about Double learns basically every stat boosting move in the game almost. It doesn't get Combine, but Cotton Guard, Swords Dance, Agility. So being able to pass, let's say an Agility to a Mamoswine and then have it just flinch you to death, right? And just being a Pokemon doesn't care about the physical attacks coming out. I think Double is a sleeper pick. I'm gonna be honest. And there's no pun intended on the sheep, whatever. But I think this is actually a sleeper pick right now.
I agree, man. That's a Cotton Guard body press set is very scary as well. We've got the New Orleans Pelipers and John picking up Aromatisse, a very bulky fairy Pokemon that can hit some nice Moonblast, boost itself up with Nasty Plot, but primarily used to set Trick Room. Trick Room paired with Reuniclus could be very difficult for the opponent to deal with, but John's got some really nice speed tiers as well with that Weavile and that Galvantula, so it'd be interesting to see how he utilizes this Aromatisse, whether it's going to be more of a Cleric defensive type Pokemon, or whether it's going to be used more offensively, but having that versatility could be really, really clutch for him moving forward in the draft.
How did they decide to give which fairy types Mystical Fire and not? Because I just checked if that thing learned Mystical Fire and it doesn't. This is one of my favorite Pokemon ever in draft, by the way. I'm going to let you take it, and this is... I love Rhydon.
I love me some Rhydon, man. Rhydon in C tier gives me a Stealth Rock user to take the pressure off the Duraludon. It's got Eviolite, incredibly bulky, and you don't have to worry about those hidden power moves anymore. So I think this Pokemon is absurdly good in this format. Being able to fire off that base 130 physical attack stat, very slept on how strong this thing is, even as a defensive Pokemon. So I think Rhydon, very slept on, like I said. Rock Polish, Swords Dance, it just hits, it's absurdly hard with its dual stab, one of the best dual stabs in the game. And overall, I think it's just going to be a really good Pokemon.
and you're guaranteed at least 40 comments a week about why you picked the ability you did.
And we know that helps our SEO, and it doesn't. Yeah. Why didn't you evolve your Rhydon, Dan?
That's a really big YouTube power pick, big brain right there.
Speaking of big brains, we've got Serena here with. For the Chicago Cubs shoes, Serena gets a nice buff with Rapid Spin, boosting the speed up.
You did not mean to say big brains.
It's got big brains, man. It's got a boosted speed with the Rapid Spin, removing those hazards, and it's got really cool options like U-turn, great assault vest user, power whip, a drop kick, play rough, high jump kick. Turtonator's next for the Steel Wings here. Turtonator, I love its design, but it's a bad Pokemon. Tell me about it, Joey.
Look back at it. I love it too. Like I might have been joking about him drafting a UU team, but he really is drafting what it looks like a lower tier draft, like Sticky Web team. But I love Turtonator. Heavy duty boots, gets Rapid Spin this generation as well, which is a big thing, and obviously still a Shell Smash plus Draco Meteor and a fire type attack to go forward. I think the heavy duty boots plus the Rapid Spin is a big one. So he has 2 Rapid Spinners now. Nice offensive dragon, and his team really does appreciate that Sticky Web support. Again, I really wish it was better. Ooh, Minnesota Vikavolt over here.
Look at this high-res Vikavolt, man, looking real powerful, taking my mascot pick, but one of the nice things...
Where's this from? What game is this
I don't know where he got this, but one of the nice things I like about Vikavolt in this game is it got the nice buff of getting sticky webs, so that's really cool. Being able to set up those sticky webs to the rest of the team could be really good when you look at things like Silvally or maybe Phalanx that are a little bit on the slower side. That could be really, really cool, or at least the average speed side. But the thing I love about Vikavolt is that agility set, man. Boost that speed up to absurd levels. You're going to outspeed the majority of the metagame, and then you just fire off Life Orb powered Bug Buzzes and Thunderbolts and Energy Balls. And speaking of a Pokemon that can switch into most of those things, we got the Bullet Punch Club picking up Mudsdale in C tier. Mudsdale, very, very bulky with that stamina, which can continue to steamroll and boost that defense up at incredible levels. And it gets Body Press this time, which allows it to fire off massive, massive fighting type attacks with that Body Press to get those stamina boosts. Great Assault Vest user, good team support with Stealth Rock as well, and just an overall, probably one of the best premier ground types in the format.
Yep. It also gets Iron Defense as well, so boosting its Body Press even more. I've seen a few sweeps with that thing too. Definitely an annoying Pokemon to take down once it starts going, and I'm really liking Uzi's draft over here. I feel like it's well-rounded. And then we see Indeedee Male come out here now. The Psychic Terrain is interesting. I almost thought this was Nexus for a second, by the way, picking this up because he just picked up Hitmonlee, but Kyle is really covering himself all around, giving him a nice little way to stop priority there, giving him a potential offensive threat too. I know he doesn't have offensive threats in Snorlax and whatnot, but
this thing gets Trick Room too. It gets Trick Room. So you could bring it in and like really mess up your opponent and go for a Trick Room and be really offensive, man. Like the thing is like Tri-Attack plus like Psychic is really, really good on that thing. So I'm curious to see how he utilizes the Indeedee there. The Melbourne Rotoms and Cybertron going to pick up Umbreon. Umbreon unfortunately took a little bit of a nerf not having Toxic in this generation, but overall a very bulky dark type Pokemon, which is something that doesn't really exist in the format outside of Umbreon, for the most part anyway, and can definitely yawn some things, play rough some things, and it can baton pass out to its teammates. But again, the Toxic nerf really, really hurts Umbreon here.
Yeah, no Toxic, no Heal Bell, but he's really covering its weaknesses. Like the physical attackers that might come out of Umbreon, like Jellicent and Paladin and Gengar being faster itself than most of them, than the fighting types as well. I like this pick. We see a Trick Room option now coming out from Nexus over here, as well as Toxic Spikes 2, Will-O-Wisp, and Nasty Plot. I'm a big fan of Cofagrigus, and I love its offensive Nasty Plot Trick Room set. Another cool thing is that with 44 defense EVs, I calc this, you can knock out Obstagoon with Body Press. So that's an interesting option. It doesn't have Hidden Power Fighting anymore, but you can knock out Obstagoon with Body Press. And I'm sure there's some sort of calc as well for Tyranitar. So I do think that Body Press is a really interesting addition to this Pokemon's move pool. It doesn't care about its special attack in general, but being also a spin blocker for him too. This was a snipe for me for sure.
Yeah, I was looking at Helios myself. I think Helios is definitely one of the more underrated threats this generation, having access to Weather Ball, which is so strong. If you compare this to the Sun Setter, to give it that solar power boost, it is so powerful with those fire type moves boosted in Sun. One of the hardest hitting Pokemon actually in the format with solar power plus Weather Ball, but also a water immunity with Dry Skin, which could be so useful, being able to switch into those water type attacks and deal some damage there. But also one thing I want to mention about Helios that I love is it's one of the few electric types that also has U-turn. I think that that's very worthwhile mentioning.
Yeah, for sure. I keep looking back and seeing me. Quillfish right here with the spikes and the toxic spikes, giving me a grounded poison, giving me a pseudo water resist. Maybe a Haxorus, but I feel like Quillfish is a pseudo water resist. Intimidate, obviously catching a nerf this generation with Scrappy, Inner Focus, and Oblivious, not caring about it. So switching into fighting types is going to be kind of scary. But I have a 4x resist as well, and Corviknight, which can check them for the most part. But giving me Swift Swim, giving me Intimidate, Thunder Wave, Destiny Bond, Swords Dance as well. I'm a big fan of Quillfish, and I've always wanted to use it. I was really hoping those rumors were real that it got an evolution this turn, but look at Envy picking this old man.
Hey, that's fine. That's the dad bod right there. Do not hate on Mr. Crime, who's coming out in Pokemon Gun soon into a DLC near you. Mr. Crime here sports the incredible screen cleaner ability, allows it to remove those, screens on the field. Also gets freeze dry, can run Calm Mind, and can also run Trick Room. So there's some really cool options to run with Mr. Crime here. But he's gonna take your purse as well as he runs away and steals all of your W's and your girl. He's gonna steal your girl too. Bro,
I can't wait for Envy to set up screens and then set out Mr. Rhyme and then have them go away. We do see G-Max Dreadnought come out from Duncan. I'll be honest, I actually DM'd Duncan. I was like, hey bro, I might just snipe G-Max Dreadnought from you. How you feeling about this? Because like I wanted to see what he would say. But Dreadnought being a phenomenal, obviously, rain abuser, the big thing between G-Max Dreadnought and regular Dynamax Dreadnought is that it can't set up the rain for itself. So it really does depend on Pelipper right there, because its water move actually sets up Stealth Rock. So that's a really nice one. You can actually attack and set up Stealth Rock, which I think is really big because Duncan doesn't currently have a Stealth Rock setter right now, but giving him a nice Swift Swim abuser at that. I'm a big fan of this Pokemon too.
And to finish off this round here, round 6, we've got Garbodor here. Wolf grabbing straight trash, but Garbodor, very cool Pokemon that can set up both spikes and toxic spikes. It's got that Aftermath ability, which can be really annoying to deal with. And it's got great coverage options like Seed Bomb. It can run Gunk Shot, obviously. And it can just be a pain to deal with overall.
Yeah, phenomenal pick. Grounded Poison, Toxic Spikes, T-Spike, everything. I absolutely love Garbodor. I've used it several times in the past. I think it really works well with Pokemon like Dracovish because you have Water Absorb Pokemon, but Toxic Spikes to wear them down. So who was your overall, nice little pick? I think the Rhydon is a phenomenal one. Like I said, that's one of my favorite Pokemon in the draft. And I'm a big fan of Heliolisk too. I was definitely sniped on that Pokemon.
Yeah, I think Heliolisk deserves so much mention here. I really like the Mudsdale and the Serena picks. I think those are great. I have a big feeling that the Double is going to be very impactful this season for the Gators. And I really got to say, like, one of my favorite teams so far is definitely Duncan's. That Rain team looks petrifying to deal with. Dreadnought, so offensively powerful, especially with Swift Swim, being able to boost its speed up and then fire off an attack that's going to set up the Stealth Rocks as well for the team, which is so good. And let's not forget Mr. Crime stealing your girl. So that's the thing too. So very nice here, round 6. Well, I'd take a second here to ask the chat, what team is your favorite so far? Let us know in the chat as we jump in to round 7, guys. We are moving very quickly here.
Yeah, we are.
Rounds that we're flying through the draft, man. You guys got things to do. We got things to do. Let's keep it rocking. Round 7, kicking it off. Wolf and the Dracovish gonna go with, boom, Avalugg.
The table.
My coffee table is here, but I put my G Fuel on it and use code aDrive for 30% off my order. ! Premium in the chat. We got this Avalugg here, which has the ability to rapid spin, remove those hazards, but this thing is so bulky, dude. That physical defense and that great HP paired with a really good attack stat and Avalanche, this thing is insanely difficult to knock out, and it can deal some massive damage with Gyro Ball as well.
And Body Press is a big thing too. Coming off a 513 defense stat at level 100, if I'm not mistaken. Body Press is huge. Has Crunch and Earthquake as well to potentially beat the spin blockers. And Heavy Duty Boots obviously makes it that much better. It doesn't have Sturdy though. Does not have Sturdy right now. Scrafty comes out as the next Pokemon. I'm a big fan of Scrafty. I love the Intimidate. I love the Shed Skin. I love the Moxie. Obviously access to Dragon Dance, Close Combat. Knockoff are pretty big when it comes. I think it still gets knockoff, but pretty big when it comes to Scrafty as well. Does it not? No?
I think you have to run Throat Chop.
Ooh, okay, that's fine too. Either way, Throat Chop is good. I'll check that in a sec anyway. But
this is a Pokemon that I love with an Assault Vest, man. With Intimidate plus Assault Vest, you can really slow things down. And in a format where you only have those 3 turns of Gigantamaxing, Scrafty can be one of the best at slowing that down and stopping your opponent from beating you with their Gigantamax, which could give you the time to set up your own max moves. Xatu here for the San Diego Chim Charger is going to be able to magic bounce away those hazards, but also provide a U-turn option, a Calm Mind option, and some really cool little support things that it can do, like Thunder Wave and actually even Tailwind, I believe, for the team. So there's some really cool options here of what Xatu can do.
Yeah, he just drafted a Rapid Spinner right before, and now he drafted the Xatu itself. Xatu also can make use of Teleport, which is still buffed like it is in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, giving it a -6 switch, which can be pretty cool if you also want to set up the dual screens there. We have my makeshift Whimsicott over here, being my Rapid Spinner, and that's basically all Eldegoss does for me. It Rapid Spins, it Leech Seeds, and it's going to click Giga Drain, maybe Stun Spore. I needed a Grass type as well, especially because my...
Why you gotta talk to him like that, dude? Like, you're just not even giving him a chance.
I'm not gonna hype him up like it's not Corviknight, Cinderace, or Haxorus.
I got you. My man Joey picking up the Eldegoss pick. This thing is such a threat. If you hit it, you're gonna slow yourself down. This thing can clear those hazards off the field and put some things to sleep. The Maryland Torterrapins and under the radar grabbing Steelix here. Steelix, of course, getting that big buff with Body Press as well, being able to use his defense
and
stat
Dragon Dance
to attack, and yes, Dragon Dance, Joey, tell him about it.
And Head Smash.
And Head Smash, let him know.
And Head Smash with Rock Head. So he has the dual screens options. He can now run a defensive Steelix, or he can run offensive, or Iron Defense, Body Press, like you said, or Dragon Dance with Head Smash. And Head Smash coming off at 150 base power. It's not stab, but I mean 150 base power Rock type attack, strong.
It gets Rock Head too, doesn't it? Instead of
yeah,
Shield Force.
exactly.
Yeah. So you can definitely run that. Very cool there. We're going to see the Rapidash, Galarian Rapidash, of course, coming off with that 105 base speed and a very good offensive typing in Psychic and Fairy, being able to hit very, very hard with that. I know that this Pokemon is a little bit disappointing because its abilities don't do a ton for it. It can remove that, that poison. But what else do you think this Rapidash could do for Nexus?
It provides for him Healing Wish support, and it provides for him a pretty good speed tier, obviously above Darmanitans and above base 100s, which I think Swords Dance, like was mentioned, and I really wish it had the poison immunity, which I think would have been a big thing for this Pokemon, considering it's a unicorn, it can heal poison and whatnot, but I still like it. I actually like this pick too from Aaron himself, providing Rapid Spin support, Spikes, Stealth Rock. You can do some really cool things with Endure, plus Steam Engine and Weakness Policy, which is a set that I used recently. If you guys didn't know, its ability, basically when it gets hit with a water or fire type attack, it gets +6 speed. So that's a really nice, maybe we'll see Aaron run something like that. I'm gonna DM him actually real quick, just so he's aware.
And
of
gets
those
a nice,
type of
gets a special defense boost from that sand as well, which could allow it to take those hits a little bit better from like a weaker attack. You can run like a Pasho Berry with Steam Engine or something like that if you had to. So some really cool options there. Togepi right here, looking like it's in a lot of pain right now, but he's actually just charging up his thunder attacks, his Zing Zap right there. But the Togepi provides a cool steel and electric type Pokemon. Did it get spikes yet?
No, bro.
What's going on with that?
Rapid Spin, man. It did not get spikes or Rapid Spin. I don't understand. They gave everything spikes. They literally made spikes a technical record, did they not? Why did Togedemaru not get... It has spikes on it. It makes no sense.
It can't detach them, I guess. But Togedemaru can U-turn, it can Fake Out, it can Zing Zap, which is actually pretty strong. Iron Head as well. Very nice, but its typing is what really sets it apart. That typing is so good if you can dodge those ground-type moves. The Bullet Punch Club grabbing Passimian here. Passimian finally having its hidden ability Defiant, Release, and usable. Very, very strong. If you intimidate it or lower its stats in any way, especially through max moves, you actually buff its attack by 2 stages, which negates that Intimidate and allows it to hit incredibly strong. It's a good Assault Vest user. Very good Choice Scarfer as well. And let's not sleep on the Choice Banded Passimian, which can hit absurdly hard with close combat, Seed Bombs, knockoffs, and Gunk Shots. Very strong Pokemon overall.
Yeah, phenomenal pick. I love it. Gives him momentum as well. He already has the Parting Shot in the U-turn. Now he has another U-turn Mon as well. I wanted this Pokemon, bro.
This Mon is so big on the screen. Quagsire being a Water Absorb user that can dodge those water type attacks, but also has Unaware to stop those setup sweepers and keep them slowed down. And without Hidden Power Grass being a threat, Quagsire can really outlast a lot of opponents here, being able to recover its health back up. It's very slow, relatively bulky, but can be very difficult to take down if the opponent is not prepared for it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will actually sleep on Quagsire. I feel like the Water Absorb one is a lot better now, especially when we have strong Pokemon like Dracovish running around. So, I mean, if you look at his team and you look at Dracovish, you just bring that Mon out and just click Vicious Rend. But now you have to think twice about it. Chase, once again, picking up Braviary. Braviary is interesting because it got the buff in close combat, but it lost Roost at the moment. But it does also have a little buff in the heavy duty boots and can still bulk up as well as Brave Bird. Also losing Return, but can Crush Claw. Crush Claw is definitely a viable option.
Yeah, with Sheer Force, it ends up being really strong anyway. And Braviary, one of the few Pokemon that can still defog, which is pretty cool too. Definitely worth noting there. But a great Choice Scarf user, great Choice Banded user. And again, losing Roost takes away that sub kind of Roost bulk up set, but overall still a really viable pick. We're going to see the Cubchoo's grabbing one of their favorites, Raichu. Raichu, a base 110 speed Electric-type Pokemon that gets a lot of coverage options, including Grass Knot and Surf and Thunderbolt, and Nuzzle too should not be slept on. Let's not forget it can Nasty Plot and set up as well, Joey.
Yeah, Raichu is interesting. Giving him a faster speed tier 2, a little fake out, a little Nuzzle like you said. I'm not sure how diverse its move pool is this generation. I believe it still gets Focus Blast, Thunderbolt, Grass Knot like you said. I don't know if it still gets Surf.
It does.
Does? Does it get Surf? Okay, awesome. So I like Raichu. I like its fast speed tier and its Lightning Rod ability. I'm a big fan of this Pokemon, and I was kind of waiting for you to draft something with Aurora Veil, bro.
This is the sleeper pick in C tier. I think we both agreed that this was one of the Pokemon that maybe slipped through the cracks a little bit in terms of its tiering. Vanillux having access to Hail and Aurora Veil, which can set up that Hail, set up the Aurora Veil, which sounds like great support for things like Flapple and Hatterene. It also is a very powerful Choice Scarf user. It gets Autotomized, and I love Freeze Dry. I've used Alolan Ninetales so extensively, one of my favorite Pokemon. I think Vanillux can even do what Ninetales does, and actually better in some ways.
In terms of strength, for sure, coming off its attack. We see this is an awesome pose for GALAR, man. Props to, I know he went to the Pokedex and found the best images. He definitely did that. Okay, thank you, Dan. We have No Guard Dynamic Punches, Rocks, as well as Iron Fist moves. Essentially Rock Polish, being a Ghost type, Spin Blocker as well. He doesn't really have too many hazards, but he does have the, actually has no hazards besides the Sticky Web, but now he has Stealth Rock as well, and being a Ground type too. Working really well with Corviknight being immune to those electric type attacks. So I like GALAR. I love the Iron Giant. I wish it was a little bit stronger again, but still. Gator picking up Rotom. He wanted the speed tier, another Ghost type for his team. But as you can see, Gator's team is kind of like in the in-between in terms of speed, right? Like he has something really slow with the Rune, and then everything is around the same speed tier. Rotom has access to Nasty Plot now, Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, of course, can Will-O-Wisp, can Hex, can Thunder Wave. And gives him Volt Turn with Mandibuzz, so which I think he likes that, which Toxtricity already did before too, but I think he really loved its speed tier as well. What do you think about Rotom?
I love it. I think the immunities are really what sets it apart. The ground, fighting, and normal immunities can be really valuable there. Steve and the Sawsbucks picking up Hitmontop, of course. A very cool Rapid Spinner that can also get some priority options there. Nice Intimidate, Technician Offensive is a thing, but really this thing is meant to kind of slow down the opponent. I mentioned what Scrafty does in this format. I think in this same vein in Draft League, those 3 Gigantamax turns are going to be so crucial, and if you can slow them down and not have your team get obliterated, you could really turn the tide of the battle right back around. So I think Hitmontop could definitely put in some work as a result of being like just a very defensive Pokemon with that Intimidate. So really cool stuff there for the Milwaukee Sawsbucks, drafting a pretty slow team, but that's going to round out round 7 here. Joey with that fancy Eldegoss pick, but overall, I like some of the picks here, man. I really like the Quagsire pick. I think that that's just a super underrated Pokemon because of how bulky it is, and with Recover and no hidden power, could be really strong. And big shouts to the Passimian pick here as well with Defiant. That thing is a massive wall breaker.
Yeah, best picks out here. I would say it's actually the entire left row. I think has, like, going down, has some of the best picks, like Ice Cream Cone, Passimian, Steelix, and Avalugg. I'm a big fan of all of those, and they kind of look like they outclass the rest of it going on. But I think Ice Cream being able to use its stab ice type attacks and then throwing off like freeze dries to weaken water types and having access to taunt as well. And I think the Aurora Veil is going to be the big thing, because now you have dual screens options, but now you can do it in one move, and then a Spec Chandelure, even Combine Chandelure under Aurora Veil sounds incredibly scary. So I really like that pick. And again, Passimian, I know it was on your radar. It was definitely on my radar too. A strong pick by Uzi as well.
Yeah, nice way to round out round 7 there. Kicking us back on the wheel, we've got our friend Hitmontop, and the Sawsbucks are going to jump into their wheel pick, and that is going to be a Selgor. One of the fastest Pokemon in the format. A Selgor gets access to both Spikes and Toxic Spikes to set up those hazards, but it also has the ability to run Final Gambit. Final Gambit as a lead option can be so devastating to the opponent if they're not prepared for it. Overall, otherwise, just a really fast Pokemon that can hit very hard on the special attacking side and provide some support options to the team. This could force an opponent to run a Choice Scarf in many cases. A team that was previously really slow now has this absurdly fast Pokemon.
Yep, they have Esku Ninja right now. I think another big thing is that it does have the Unburden ability, and I feel like because Unburden doesn't actually prompt in the game, you might end up seeing Throat Spray plus Bug Buzz, and then someone go out to the Choice Scarf user trying to revenge it, being outsped by the 800 plus speed Selgor. Yukumako is a variegator Pokemon as well that he likes to pick up. Obviously, with Baton Pass being the way it is, so he can pivot around, he can recover. It has access to Mirror Coat as well as Counter, and can soak and toxic things. So it's a very variegator Pokemon. It gives him a water resist as well, which I think was the big thing.
Yeah, variegator Pokemon, as you said. Very difficult to stay down, and that unaware can be super annoying when you try to set up. It just completely shuts you down, and then it could stall you out with Toxic. So we've got the Pelipper's grabbing Trevenant here. One of my favorite designed Pokemon. Trevenant, really cool because it has Harvest as its ability, so it can kind of recreate those berries, which could be really useful. But otherwise, it's got Horn Leech to heal itself up. It's got some cool Ghost-type attacks as well, Will-O-Wisp, and I'm not sure if it gets Strength Sap. If not, it should, and it can also Trick Room as well.
Yeah, again, we were talking before about the ghost types not really having attacks, but I think Trevenant is something that can actually work behind the substitute, so it can actually work with Phantom Force as well as Leech Seed, and obviously Harvest, like you said, is pretty cool, and a Natural Cure too, if I'm not mistaken.
I love this pick, man. Yeah, I grabbed B tier Pincurchin, man. Yeah, I remember being here for the 252 stream. Joey and I talking about how good we think Pincurchin could be. This thing can set up its own terrain, but it also is an electric immunity with Lightning Rod, which is very cool. But let's not sleep on Spikes, Toxic Spikes, and I love the idea of running Curse on this thing, man.
Yeah, Memento as well. Sucker Punch for priority, Liquidation. An electric type that threatens ground types is very rare at the moment. I mean, look at Jolteon getting the huge nerf without Hidden Power. Pincurchin doesn't care about that, and it gives you a nice little Trick Room Abuser alongside Hatterene, which is cool too. I think Crustle is going to be one of the scariest Pokemon to fight because of the introduction of Heavy Duty Boots, so it will always have its sturdy intact, and it can always Shell Smash. So definitely a phenomenal pick on Elliot's part, as well as giving him hazards, right? Spikes and Stealth Rock. But I think the Shell Smash option is the scariest one when you look at his team, because Revenge Killing this thing, whatever you have, you better make sure you do damage to it first. And then you better make sure whatever you have is faster, can eat a hit. So I do think that this is a mon that I know every single time I play in random battles and mono-type Rambats, always sweeps me. So definitely something to be aware of.
We're going to see Air Balloon Rotom Fan come out here. This thing can dodge all of your ground type moves without you even knowing it. Rotom Fan provides Air Slash as an option. It could also Nasty Plot, which can be kind of cool as well. So those grass types that normally would be able to switch into electric types cannot deal with those flying type moves. And again, that base speed at 86 really isn't too bad considering what the rest of the format is offering. So while Rotom Fan is often considered to be the weakest of the Rotom forms, there is some viability here for this Pokemon.
Especially with that Nasty Plot. Nasty Plot, again, being an electric type that threatens ground types with Air Slash, I think is pretty big when it comes to Rotom itself. And bro, my boy Chase is like really looking into that lower tier drop. I like it though. We get Sigilyph coming up next, and Sigilyph being incredibly scary with the Tinted Lens and the Magic Guard. It's vast move pool, access to Calm Mind, and good speed tier 2. He has now that mid speed tier between Salazzle and Sigilyph covered. So I like this, especially with dual screens, and I think Tinted Lens is very slept on too, and it's just really vast move pool, makes it the scariest thing. And no Pursuit is going to be I think Psychic types are going to be dominating like they did in Gen 1, man. Like Pursuit is big. Like Psychic and Ghost types is really going to flourish here.
This is a Pokemon that I think is one of the best picks at this point of the draft that we've seen, and that's Durant. Durant at 109 base speed outspeeds the majority of the rest of the metagame, and it hits insanely hard with its hustle attacks. Being able to boost its attack stat with Hone Claws as well, and accuracy with Hone Claws makes it such a massive threat with Iron Heads. It gets Bug Bite, it gets First Impression now, which is also absurd. There's a lot of things that this Pokemon can do to really mess with the opponent, and because that basically has a built-in choice band with Hustle, it's so difficult to switch into.
Apparently it doesn't get Hone Claws at the moment.
Oh, well, just kidding.
That's really weird that it doesn't. I did not know that as well. But Baton Pass as well is a pretty big thing. We do see a regular Lapras coming out from I love Kyle, man. Kyle just drafting whatever he wants. He's the only team that matters, remember that. But he has the really nice core of the fire immunity, the electric immunity, the water immunity, the psychic immunity, the normal and fighting immunity, and the dragon immunity. So like his team is not being hit by attacks. He's just gonna switch around. And I like that about Lapras. I think Lapras is really cool. Whirlpool Perish Trap can definitely be very scary, especially with the heavy duty boots, allowing it to get escape the Stealth Rock damage. Frostlass. So Aaron really liking ghost types this generation, and I mean for good reason. They're the best in this generation at the moment. Spikes, access to Thunder Wave, a third spin blocker as well. Him also just covering all the speed tiers, right? Like there's very few Pokemon that are as fast as Gengar. He just said, yeah, I'm gonna take that up as well. What you think about the Frost last pick?
I like it. I like the lead option with Hazards and Destiny
Yeah.
Bond. I think you could really mess your opponent up with that. But also this Pokemon can be pretty offensive too, with Shadow Ball and things like Ice Beam and stuff. Fast Ice is just really good. So the Pichu's grabbing Shuckle here. You don't mess with Shuckle, man. This thing can set up the sticky webs. It can also set up Stealth Rocks and things like that. So Joey, I think you're bleeding through a little bit on your mic.
Am I actually sorry?
Yeah, there's a little echo. Shuckle, of course, being able to set up those hazards, and its gluttony ability allows it to pop those berries and live a lot longer too. And let's not sleep on the opportunity of running Contrary Shell Smash to boost your defenses to crazy levels and be very difficult to knock out.
Why didn't they give Shuckle body press, bro?
I know.
Imagine a generation where Shuckle could be offensive. Speaking of offensive, though,
We got that big,
Surfetch, man.
we got that big league energy right here. That's
Oof.
a big league, dude.
Oof. Yo, straight up. And Scrappy, just being able to click close combat, but also not caring about Intimidate. This is what I'm talking about, man. Like, my Quillfish ain't even be able to check these fighting types. I'm going to take like 70% from Choice Band close combat coming off from a Surfetch. But having access to First Impression, Knockoff, Swords Dance, Brave Bird, Leaf Blade, really cool options for Surfetch. But I think for the most part, it's just going to be clicking the close combat the entire time, and him having dual screen options, him having wish support and spikes as well.
Let's not forget about the crits, dude. The crits with Leak.
Yeah, Leak.
Anyway, talk about Pangoro, bro.
I needed a dark type. I wanted to abuse a Scrappy. It hits hard. I was debating between this and Beware. Do I either get a Ghost Immunity? Do I get a Resist? I ended up going with Pangoro just because people won't be able to spam like I think ghost type attacks versus me, but I'll also be able to not care depending on what they go into. I obviously don't have knockoff now. I have to use Darkest Lariat, but Gunk Chop, Bullet Punch for priority, 3 good abilities in Scrappy, Mold Breaker, and Iron Fist. I like Pangoro. I'm excited about it. I feel like Pangoro and Haxorus can be tied for how many times can I run a choice ban on them.
We've got a Escavalier here for the Chim Chargers. Escavalier getting that nice boost by not having to worry about those hidden power fires, but Mystical Fire is still distributed across the game. But this thing is so bulky, naturally very slow, but we see some Trick Room setters there, so some options there for Envy. But I love that this thing can be such a good defensive pivot as a Pokemon that has only that one weakness to fire, so it can really switch into a lot of attacks and, you know, fire off a big heavy hit, whether it be the Iron Head or the Mega Horn or, you know, I think it even gets, who knows what else. It gets a lot of things.
It gets close combat now too.
There you
which
go.
is a big thing.
That's the one.
Close combat is a really scary pick. I think Mantine is a big sleeper pick for Rain. Having access to Roost and accurate Hurricanes as well as Hydro Pump and of course Ice Beam for coverage, it can actually be a pretty solid Rain sweeper, and I like that. It also gives him a water immunity if he decides to run it that way, but now he has a secondary Swift Swim user alongside Dreadnought, and again, those Hurricanes, man, Mantine ain't that strong, but when you got a life form and when it has recovery, it's going to be tough to take down as well. And of course, abusing those heavy duty boots. Doesn't have access to defog at the moment. I learned that the hard way because I used to outplay it a lot and it just didn't exist. So Girder too, coming off finishing up this round from Wolfie Glick.
Yeah, our final pick in round 8 is going to be Girder. Girder, of course, having that absurd bulk with the Eviolite being able to bulk up as well. So oftentimes you'll see like max HP, max special defense with bulk up, which can be very difficult to take down. Has priority and Mach Punch and some really cool abilities, primarily Guts, being able to take those status moves like Will-O-Wisp and actually boost its attack setup. So very cool pick there to give him a fighting type option. And that's going to be the end of round 8 as the teams start to really put together their final pieces to try to solidify any cores they might have or any big weaknesses. I think for me, my favorite pick out of this round though was probably the Durant. I think Durant is just such a massive threat. I guess it doesn't get Hone Claws, but the fact that Durant can hit so hard with Hustle is so scary to deal with. Special defense stat is garbage, but there's a lot of physical attackers, and this thing is very strong.
Yeah, I feel like Steve really changed his team around by picking up a Selgor, something with speed on his squad, right? Like, you went from having the slowest team in the draft to literally the fastest Pokemon, I believe, in this generation, forcing people to actually run Scarfs versus you, maybe if you want to revenge kill it, while he still has very good Trick Room options, and give him Spikes as well as T-Spike too. Also a big fan of the Surfetch Pokemon as well, just to be a little bit different than you, because I love Durant too. But I think Surfetch is going to be very crazy, and that big league energy, man.
Yeah,
coming
you
out
gotta
from
love
Surfetch.
One thing I didn't mention too about Girder that gives it a nice little benefit too is it has defog now, so it can actually remove those hazards as a low tier bulky pick, which I love. So something that's resistant to Stealth Rock can remove those hazards and actually benefits from Toxic Spikes in some ways. So very cool stuff there. Well, let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into round 9. The Dracovish picking up their wheel pick, and they're gonna go with Jigalith. Jigalith here, a very bulky rock type Pokemon. We got Jigalith here, a very bulky rock type Pokemon that sets up the sand so it can boost its own special defense stat. It also gets access to body press to use that defense stat to hit absurdly hard. It gets stealth rocks itself. It can just explode if it feels like it. And Jigalith is a massive threat, Joey. It's Jigalith.
Why did you entertain that?
It's
like,
Jigalith.
Why did you entertain it? It's not Jigalith. Okay. The worst thing about watching Wolfie Glick's videos, stop it, is the fact that he pronounces everything wrong. Jengjar. You actually have to put more effort to pronounce Pokemon wrong than you do to pronounce them right. I just gotta say.
Have we seen Arcanine get picked yet?
Thank God he didn't get it. I was actually thinking that when Wolf got it.
We got Shinotic here. We've got the one Spore user, of course, and does get Rain Dish, does it not?
Yeah, I think that's actually the reason why he picked it up, being a fairy type. Rain Dish, having access to Spore. Spore is a big thing. Very few Pokemon have. I believe it's the only Pokemon actually with Spore this generation. I could be a little bit off about that.
I think it is the only Spore.
Yeah, but Stro Sap is big. Leech Life, Leech Seed, excuse me, and just Moonblast is pretty big too. We do see that Conkeldurr going to Envy, and as you mentioned with Girder, Conkeldurr also has access to defog. Obviously, Guts is scary with his dual screen options too. Drain Punch has access to close combat. Mach Punch, Facade, Earthquake. Elemental Punches, Iron Fist, Sheer Force, fantastic Pokemon, period.
Yeah, just a really, really big offensive threat. Does a lot of things that Girder does, but it's stronger. So, great Assault Vest user and just a really powerful Pokemon. I think with Trick Room too, there's some really cool options there of what Envy could do to mess with the opponent if they have a faster team. And even like a Pokemon like Dracozolt under Trick Room could be really, really offensive and really scary to deal with. We're going to see you take the Gigantamax Orbeetle, my man. Watch out, Wooloo. Get your Miltanks out of here. This thing is powerful.
Yeah, I picked it up. I mean, Gmax Orbeetle probably isn't the best as a Gmax user, but again, I talked about the regular Orbeetle having access to Baton Pass and all that stuff, and Gmax Orbeetle can do the exact same thing. We're also setting up Gravity for Haxorus, so that could be pretty cool. So I could just spam Mold Breaker Earthquakes potentially, or if I want to go for inaccurate moves with nothing on my team, because my team all has accurate moves besides Cinderace, I guess Pyro Ball. But maybe that can work. But the big thing is it gives me a Sticky Web option. It gives me dual screens. It gives me Baton Pass plus Combine or Iron Defense, and it can also sweep in itself.
Yeah, we got Drifblim here. Drifblim, the premier blimp of Pokemon, being able to burn some things. It's got Unburden. It can do that. It's got Stockpile and Baton Pass.
It gets Strength Sap and Defog.
That's it. It can remove those hazards. It can heal itself up. And again, as I mentioned, you could use it with like a berry to activate its Unburden and then Baton Pass all those stats over to something else.
Yeah, basically
that's all I got.
Wolfie's pronunciation annoying me. That's why I only watch Joey so I can hear that's clean and that's fire every 5 seconds. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yo, that's a fire pick. We got Shiftry coming out here. I didn't even know Shiftry was in the game. Wait a minute.
It gets Heat Wave now. It gets Heat Wave now with Growth. And Solar Blade. You definitely do. Don't say that.
What else does Shiftry do? Shiftry spelled wrong, so Nexus doesn't know how to type out the name. Let's just throw that out there. I'm gonna throw some shade his way.
Shift
retweet Y.
Okay.
We have nothing to say about Shiftry. That's it. That's all I got.
It gives him a grass type. It gives him a dark type. That's about it. Yeah, it's Throat Chop. It can set up and whatnot. This is basically how Wolf is going to be pronouncing its name every single time.
Shift RTY, baby. We got the Gallade here, a nice inner focus user with Justified as well that can boost its attack stat. Very cool. It hits pretty hard actually as well. It doesn't have a Mega anymore, but overall pretty cool Pokemon that can also Will-O-Wisp and Thunder Wave, get Swords Dance, Shadow Sneak, I think. So some pretty cool options.
Yeah, I like his team is pretty weak to like Ghost. But I mean, he has the best Ghost Stopper in Umbreon, to be honest. So like, I like his all-around squad. I like that he's using different Pokemon as well. Like typically, you'd see Aaron draft like the VGCS Pokemon, which he did. But then we got it. I love this pick.
Now we know why he's got the Indeedee, dude.
The T-pose, yeah.
Psychic Surge Indeedee with Hawlucha! Running that Psychic Seed to activate its Unburden, set up a Swords Dance, and sweep. This thing is a massive threat, dude. Like, I cannot emphasize how strong this is, and all of a sudden, I feel like Kyle's team went from being like when we were kind of joking about a little bit to now just automatically absurdly offensive, man. Hawlucha's so scary.
Yeah, it's really crazy because like before he had like the defensive options and whatnot and can tank hits. Now he can really dish out those damages. Hawlucha has close combat, has Brave Bird, so it's a very very scary Pokemon right now. Lantern being picked up as well, giving him some Volt Switch as well as Electric Immunity alongside Mudsdale, and also the Water Immunity as well if he runs Water Absorb, which I think it would be pretty big considering he might be fighting a Dracovish at some point. Of course, Ferrothorn can be a check too, but basically providing Scald, Ice Beam, and Volt Switch. That's all Lantern really does. It tanks hits, special wall, and I don't think it has access to Heal Bell. I don't think Heal Bell actually like barely exists, if anything, besides I know Aromatherapy. Water Absorb isn't available. Well then, okay, well then he can only just run Volt Switch with it too, but it can be a good Assault Vest user as well.
Hey, you took my Gigantamax, man. It looks the same as mine.
It actually looks exactly the same.
He's got the Appleton Gigantamax. Obviously, this thing is incredibly bulky with thick fat, but can also benefit from that Ripen or Gluttony ability, which is really cool. Very slow, but very hard-hitting Pokemon. I'm curious to see. I think he's got some really cool Trick Room options, though, with Bronzong, Vikavolt, Appleton, and even Sigilyph being able to set it as well. There's definitely some really cool opportunities there to kind of work with that. So Appleton, just a really fat Pokemon, especially when it maxes, can be so difficult to take down.
Bro, Gmax Appleton is a liar. It should not look like that. It definitely should not look like that, bro. I love Vileplume. I love it. Giving him a grounded poison type, giving him Strem Sap as well. It can also growth under Sun with Sludge Bomb and Giga Drain if he wants. I mean, he can growth regularly too if it wants to.
Doesn't this thing look like it's gonna like destroy you and take your lunch money?
Yeah. That's Strem Sap right there, bro. Give me all your money. It's a holdout right now. But I'm a big fan of the Vileplume pick. I feel like Chase really like his draft is so interesting, man. Like, it looks like it's a... don't take this as disrespect, Chase, 'cause I love you. It looks like it's a tier 3 and down draft with Como, I'll be honest. But I'm excited to see how he uses it, because I feel like he has so many threats that are not necessarily one-dimensional in this, too. Ooh, Glaceon. What you think about Glaceon?
Yeah, we got Glaceon here. It's one of the hardest special attacking Ice-type Pokemon in the game, but without the support of Hail, it can be pretty difficult to utilize effectively because you're going to have to rely on hitting those Blizzards, or you could run Ice Beam and Shadow Ball, but without hitting Power, you lose HP Ground, so you lose a little bit of your pressure against those Steel types. But overall, really hard-hitting Pokemon that can deal some big damage. Does it get Freeze Dry now?
It does get Freeze Dry now.
Yeah, so that's a big buff, allowing it to get through those water-type Pokemon at least. My second to last pick here is going to be Hitmonchan. Hitmonchan, I think, is a really cool Pokemon with Assault Vest. It's a really good Rapid Spinner. I wanted something that can remove those hazards and hit hard on the physical side. Hitmonchan being able to boost its speed with that, and then run Iron Fist to hit hard with those punches. Very cool stuff there. Otherwise, like I said, great Assault Vest user, and hits pretty hard too. I love the priority on it. Mach Punch can be really useful. Bullet Punch as well. So some pretty cool options there, especially paired with Iron Fist.
You look like you twisted your ankle right there, by the way, if it's foot going forward. I'm going to be honest.
Now that's him punching Jake Paul in the face, I think.
Oh,
We got the New Orleans Pelipper's picking up Beware. Beware is going to give you a hug with that Fluffy ability, man. That's going to allow it to take those physical hits at half damage unless they are fire-type moves. With its fighting and normal typing, allows it to take those ghost-type hits as an immunity and hit absurdly hard with a crazy 125, I think, base attack stat. Great physical bulk, and just overall a very powerful hitter. And I think that Fluffy ability is really what sets it apart, being able to take those attacks, those physical attacks, a lot better.
Yep, it gets Darkest Lariat now too, and previously it could only touch dark types with Shadow Claw, so pretty big buff for that. Also not really caring about the boost on them is really cool too. Pharaoh Seed as well, I think, is a really nice lower tier pick. Basically Ferrothorn within a Violite. It gets the spikes of Stealth Rock. Loses the offensive pressure that of course Ferrothorn does have, because Ferrothorn has a really good attack stat. But being a very bulky backbone with Mandibuzz and the Rune as well, coupled with their spin blockers too. So I like Pharaoh. I like it. It's probably going to look like it's doing nothing, but I think it might be one of the sleeper picks of his too, going forward alongside Double, which I agree with you on. That'll be a big threat. But Pikamuku, Pharaoh Seed, really nice pair together.
Love that. Very cool. Very going to be difficult to take down. And to finish off the round, we've got the Milwaukee Sawsbucks grabbing Manectric. Manectric being a 105 base speed Electric-type Pokemon. Very fast with Volt Switch. It does have fire coverage as well with Flamethrower, Overheat, things like that. So that can be really useful. And it does have an immunity to Electric-type attacks with Lightning Rod. So a couple different cool options there from Manectric in terms of what it can run. Lacks a little bit of coverage, but overall a pretty solid pick, especially for the later rounds.
Yeah, for sure. It gives them that speed tier in between Mimikyu as well as a Selgor too, the electric immunity alongside the Sandaconda. And I like it with Switcheroo. It doesn't have hidden power anymore, but Overheat, Volt Switch, Flamethrower, all it needs. Favorite pick of the round, definitely Conkeldurr and Hawlucha. I think the 2 offensive fighting types are the scariest, and the Hawlucha really just added some pressure to Kyle's team. Not a big fan of Gigalith just because of how you said it and how Wolf will be saying it the entire time.
Did you say Jigalith?
No.
Okay, Jigalith.
Okay, thanks. I'm glad we're on the same page, bro.
Jigalith.
This friendship means so much to us. Like it really does.
Jigalith.
Stop it.
Okay, well, we're going to head out into round 10, which is our final round of the draft. So let's jump into it. And guys, don't forget to stick around for the last bit of the draft after we finish round 10 here, because we've got a lot of information to throw at you guys about what's going on with the league. So let's not waste any time. Round 10, let's do it. The Milwaukee Sawsbucks kicking us off here, and we've got the Charizard pick. Charizard, of course, being able to use... What's the issue?
Did he snipe the Ninetales? Did he snipe the Ninetales? Is that why he picked Charizard?
I have no idea what's going on here, but Charizard obviously gets to run heavy-duty boots. It can hit absurdly bard with its special attacks, and it doesn't have to worry about those hazards as much anymore. Also, like, gets Hurricane now, too, which is cool.
Yeah, but it doesn't have Roost. It doesn't have Defog. I really
Why
feel
are
like
you so bad, though?
I'm thinking about it. No, I'm just thinking about it because, like, if you look at Steve's team, he's actually pretty weak to Charizard under Sun. So I kind of feel like he took it so that way he doesn't have to fight it. I'm gonna be honest.
This is a Pokemon, Gigantamax Centiskorch, so that can be really annoying. It's Sentaferno traps the opponent, much like Sandaconda's sand trapping move as well. And with the Gigantamaxing, it's really bulky, so you can take a lot of hits, and I love the coverage on it. Power Whip allows it to hit those water types. It's got Thunder Fang if you want to hit flying types or whatever. It's also got access to, obviously, Fire Lash, which can be so strong as well, being able to fire off those powerful fire moves and lower the opponent's defense stat while doing it.
Yeah, I like Centiskorch as a Pokemon. I love Gyarados as well.
We got Gyarados here.
Oh, God.
tell us about Gyarados.
Gives him a nice little physical offensive threat alongside, Beware and Pokemon like Golurk and Corviknight. I like it with the heavy-duty boots. Moxie obviously can be really nice, especially with the Sticky Web. You can run like a Life Orb offensive variant too, and not have to worry about Gyarados' speed. Big fan of Gyarados in draft. I've used it several times. Maybe not to the best.
No more HP Electric.
Yeah.
That's
it's Thunder, though.
That's scary.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to worry about taking HP Electric.
Yeah. I got that. I was like,
Sleeper pick Central, baby. What? Your boy's grabbing Dottler. That's a shiny, bro. I got the shiny one. We got Dottler out here, man. Dottler is the pick that shook the WBE, man. I'll tell you, the chat was like, what's going on? How does he pick Dottler? Dottler's amazing, man. Sticky Webs, all right? Trick Room, all right? Screens, all right? Eviolite, Recover, Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Stored Power. Don't sleep on my man Dottler. This thing is legit.
Bro, we were actually trying to convince, what was it, Duncan to get the baby evolution of this? What's the baby?
Oh, Blipbug?
Yeah, we were actually trying to convince him that way we had the entire line going on. I remember that.
Dottler's legit, man. Don't sleep on that thing, man. I'm telling you, Dottler's going to put in work. Gigantamax Garbodor, the trash man here for the Cubchoo's, is going to poison some things with his Gigantamax move. Otherwise, a very bulky Pokemon. He's got a plane and a ship right in his belly with a Pokédoll. What do you think about that?
I'm actually not sure what its move does, but obviously
it poisons.
Okay. So it has a phenomenal move pool, and it has support as well. I know it has access to Seed Bomb, so it can max Overgrowth to boost Serena. Obviously, and just being able to boost its team, like things like that. I'm a big fan of the Milotic pick as well for Chase. Right here, Milotic is actually a scary Pokemon with the lack of Toxic in this generation. Also having access to Refresh, being a great special or physical wall. Competitive is good too to scare out Defog, which is definitely something he'll see because he does have the Sticky Web support as well. And of course, Marvel Scale is a fantastic ability too. And Milotic just has Dragon Dance now too, if you didn't know. Has Dragon Dance. So
gotta watch out for that, man. Milotic about to be a threat for the new Steel Wings with their beautiful Corviknight inspired logo, man. I love that. We've got the South Texas Stabilized grabbing Poltegeist in A tier. This thing is a threat, man. Shell Smash, weak armor, being able to boost all of its stats up to just absurd levels, and then fire off incredibly powerful Shadow Balls or other dark type coverage, or just, coverage in general, attacking things, Pokemon attacks.
A phenomenal explanation on the final round right here, Dan. I love it going forward, but also Stress Stop, like you said, Curse Body, Will-O-Wisp, Hex, and just being a nice little spin blocker for him too. Doesn't really have the most hazards going for his team. It actually just has one Stealth Rocker from what I see. Slurpuff is interesting because it doesn't have belly drum at the moment. It doesn't have belly drum, but it can still set up sticky web. If I'm not mistaken, it might still have sticky web. I think
Yeah, it still has sticky web if I'm not mistaken, but it does not have belly drum right now.
Yeah, but it can calm mine with Unburden, which is pretty big too. Has Cotton Guard as well, so maybe we might see some calm mine, Cotton Guard, Draining Kiss, Flamethrower type of set. I say Draining Kiss just for that recovery. Gives him a fairy type alongside Hatterene to threaten them with potentially speed with that. So, and I feel like everybody drafted Sticky Web. I actually feel like everybody legitimately drafted Sticky Web in this draft. Ooh, Flygon as well, giving him that nice little middle speed tier as well. The ground type 2, the ground immunity as well for his team. And also Flygon still having access to Dragon Dance, can U-turn, Earthquake, and whatnot. Maybe not as good without G-Max moves or Z moves, but still an overall reliable Pokemon, I feel, that he picked right now.
Yeah, I think it's just able to do quite a bit, and nice Dragon type Pokemon that I think will be really good. But this team, very scary with that Hawlucha, man. I think that was just such a big pick for the Dawn fans last round. So nice pick up there. We're going to see the Melbourne Rotoms and Cybertron grabbing Drampa. Drampa is a very scary Pokemon, a low speed tier, but this thing's got absurd coverage on the special side, and with its ability Berserk, it can boost its special attack even higher. Not to mention some other cool abilities like Cloud 9 to kind of nullify the weather for opposing teams if he's dealing with like a rain team or something. That could be really
or
cool
Sap
as well.
Sipper too. Yeah.
Nice
Really
grass
nice.
immunity as well. So overall, really cool team. And I gotta throw out the shout out to the normal typing here to give him a ghost immunity as well to pair with Umbreon. So while he does have 3 ghost types that he's gonna be attacking with offensively, he's got enough answers to ghost attacks on his own way. The Pichu's grabbing Berserker, one of my actually favorite new Mons. This thing with Steely Spirit and Tough Claws can hit absurdly hard. And it's got great coverage options. Seed Bomb, it gets close combat, obviously gets Iron Head. Fake out, a lot of cool options there for Berserker.
Fake out Tough Claws is really nice, especially with an Assault Vest. I've used it with some Wish support recently. I feel like he was gonna try and get Charizard if anybody else did get Charizard. So it's interesting to me because like I do like Berserker though, giving him a Steel type. It's not the bulkiest Steel type, but Assault Vest definitely does help it on the special side. It does have good defense in general. I think it's really just this image, bro. He picks up Reboot. Kidding. What are you trying to do, Karate Kid? Get back in the.
We got Raboot here. This is a fire type Pokemon that does things, that attacks and dies after that.
I just want to let everybody know. This Pokemon does not get Power Ball. It does not get Court Change, but it does get everything else that Cinderace gets. U-turn, Sucker Punch, High Jump Kick, Flare Blitz, and it actually is not bad. It has base 94 speed and base 86 defense, and it also can Baton Pass agilities.
I think that might have been Sasuke Uchiha. That might have been him right there. We got Dracloak here missing part of its tail. We got Dracloak for the Dreepies. Tell me about your mascot pick here, man. Dropping them Dreepies.
That's literally why I picked it. I wanted it as a mascot. It has base 102 speed. I shouldn't be laughing at Reboot, man. But why am I missing part of my tail, though? What the hell?
I said that, dude.
No, you know what? It just, it is what it is. But anyway, it's a spin blocker. It has base 102 speed. It can Thunder Wave and Hex. I can't really hype this thing up. I just picked it just because it's wearing a Dreepy.
Man, poor Eldegoss and Dracloak, man, just getting the shaft on your end. We got Chinchino here, which is, I know Envy, and he is going to win a game by just flinching someone out with Flinchino, man, and it's going to be so salt on the other end, man. I'm telling you, I'm calling it right now. He's going to lose a game because he's going to miss a Dracozolt hustle attack, and he's going to win a game because he's going to tail slap flinch someone at the end, and they're going to be very upset about it.
And
bold predictions.
And the big thing is, if we were playing with the 20-minute timer, the animation from we're not, but if we were, the animation from his attacks would waste so much time.
It's 7 minutes of the timer.
Exactly. That's the power pick by Envy.
The Big League Energy grabbing Claydol here. Claydol provides rapid spin support, a really cool immunity to ground type attacks, and also just natural bulk with some great offensive options. I've actually used this thing in the past, and I loved it, man. It's such a sleeper because it has great coverage with Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, things like that. And even though its offensive stats are a little on the low end, you can invest into those and actually like really mess your opponent up when they don't expect it if you can hit with like a 4x attack. So very cool stuff there. I do like me some nice Claydol action here. Good low tier pick and a good rapid spinner that's immune to hazards, which or at least resists Stealth Rock and immune to the spikes and T-spikes.
Yeah, finally giving him some hazard control. And then we see Wolf pick up Cursula as the final pick of the WBE. Now, this Pokemon has its Perish Body ability, so that's pretty cool with potentially Whirlpool. shenanigans, can Will-O-Wisp, can Strength Sap, of course, as well as the fact that Orbeetle offers him Trick Room, if I'm not mistaken. So he could do a Trick Room plus Specs Cursula build if he wants to with Shadow Ball, Earth Power, Ice Beam, Hydro Pump, whatever he wants to run right there. But overall, we definitely saw some fun picks, I think. The best 2 picks have to be probably Poltergeist and Gyarados, if I'm being honest, in terms of offensively.
Definitely some power here to round out the WBE draft as the coaches finish up their teams. All the coaches will be posting their draft breakdowns on their respective channels over the next 48 hours or so. If you see this draft breakdown on YouTube after the fact, I do ask that you hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and show some love as the coaches in the first week of battles are going to be starting next week. So next week on the weekend, you guys are going to see those first weeks of battles, and it should be pretty darn epic for the WBE to get kicked off. You can type !WBE or check out the description below to see all of the different information on the website. I'll actually pull it up as well here in a second to show you guys kind of the Draft League website. When you get to the Draft League website, you can actually navigate a ton of different things on the homepage here. So you get to the homepage, you're going to click the WBE link right here, and then you're going to actually be able to access all of the different team pages here. They may not be available just yet to view in terms of all the information, but we're going to make it all public in the next few minutes. So you'll be able to see the schedule. As you can see, I play the Milwaukee Sawsbucks and the Terrapins and etc. You're going to see all the different teams. That's going to go right here, which should be updated any minute now. And then you're also going to see the transactions and all the other stuff that takes place. So if you have any questions about the teams or the coaches or what they have or any information about the schedules, anything like that, you can see all the information on our WBE draft site. So big shout out to our friend Automatic for putting this together. I want to take a moment as well to thank KG or Cone Graphics for spending in a tremendous amount of time helping us with all the graphics for the draft, as well as my friend Joey Pokeaim here for joining me on the draft stream. And I think that's pretty much it, Joey. Do you have any other things that we need to cover before we wrap it up?
No. Honestly, that was crazy. The fact that we did this in 2 hours, whereas last time we did, 12 hours, 2 days.
Yeah.
But that was insane that we did that. I'm happy it went through. For those asking us about how we're getting over the timer, you'll see as we, I think, go forward. Or maybe you won't.
Yeah, if all goes well, guys, we do have a way to bypass the timer and allow us to battle with a longer timer, which will hopefully be the situation. So just keep an eye out for the battles next weekend. And again, I encourage you to check out all the team breakdowns posted up on YouTube as well. Again, use that WBE Draft League site. Follow the WBE on Twitter. And I also want to take a moment here to mention that the WBE is actually going to be taking a little bit of a step back in terms of the content that we provide. Our focus this season is going to be on the coaches and the battles. We actually have decided to not have an analyst team and not utilize the WBE channel. Everything is going to be done on the coaches channel. So please take a moment out of your day to go subscribe to all the various YouTube channels so you can support the various coaches and show some support to the league. We're not going to be doing power rankings. We're not going to be doing all that extra stuff, but that is something that we will most certainly keep in mind for the next season of WBE once this one is over. And this is a short season, guys. This is only 8 weeks of battles before playoffs. So we're going to be really hammering through the battles. We're going to be going through every single week and really get a nice test going for the league. Pokemon comes out next month, and this league will not be affected by that, but the following season over the summer, once we have the first expansion pass, the Isle of whatever it's called, Armor, the Isle of Armor, that's going to really change things for the WBE moving into the summer season. So lots of really cool things to look forward to for WBE. I hope you guys are excited for the battles, and thank you again to Joey for joining me. Thank you guys for watching, and that's going to be the end of our WBE Season 4 draft stream. Enjoy the battles on YouTube, and I'm going to be done here, but I'm going to actually continue my stream and do my surprise Egg Saturday event now. So for anyone here who's interested in participating in that, we're going to jump into that. But thank you guys for supporting the WBE, and I'm excited to bring you guys the battles next week.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. I'll see ya.
See you guys. Peace out.